This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mike. I'm not talking about Arsenal till later in the show.
Well,
because
talk to Sophie about that. Yeah.
You just talk yourself around in circles.
Exactly.
It's the never-ending. Is Wenger going to stay or is he going to go?
Yeah.
Well, I've just had it. I can't
Only
be
he
bothered.
knows the answer to that.
Can't
really,
be bothered. Nobody knows the answer.
That's
all
right.
this ridiculous speculation, which you are starting to fire up about Ronald Koeman.
Excuse me. The Ronald Koeman story is now gaining what we would call in the business traction.
Oh,
because
really?
An awful lot of people are starting to see.
You'll be on traction if you don't stop spreading these false rumours.
At this early stage of the show.
Well, you should be on traction anyway. You carry so much upper body weight that your spine is bent.
What size shirt are you wearing?
X.
Thank you.
And
how much do you weigh?
I've noticed that your rolling gait is getting more and more curved. I think you've got curvature of the spine.
Really?
And in my view, you should be on traction.
By the way, the pictures that were put out from last Saturday's warm-up show, where we were all standing around with Harry Redknapp and Paul Dickhoff, and we were doing the warm-up from the XL
You did a lot
arena.
of standing about.
We all did a lot of standing
No,
about.
I was working. You did a lot of standing around.
Anyway,
yeah.
there's a couple of pictures of you from the side. People were astonished at the size of your gut.
No, they weren't.
Say. Some people wondered if you were smuggling something under your shirt.
Don't be ridiculous. That was what I call one of my floaty shirts.
Floaty?
And they're deliberately oversized because
what you mean, bigger than size X?
Much bigger than size X.
What sort of size?
4X, 3X, 4X.
4X? I thought it was a beer. Do they still sell that, by the way?
What?
You know, that 4X beer. I don't see it anymore.
It's Australian.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't seen it for a long time.
Well, we've got Sandra coming on now. We can ask her if it's still sold in Australia.
Adverts, I couldn't give a 4X.
Yes, that's right, yeah. You've got to remember, when we're OBing, when we're outside and outside...
OBing?
Yes.
You're such a media lovey, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
and, of course, I have this principle that I stand so that I...
well, so do I.
Yeah, but I told you to stand because I said the breathing exercises you do when you're standing are better than when you're sitting down.
You didn't tell me to stand at all. When I started my radio career, which was much later than yours.
Yeah, it was much later.
For a lot longer.
You're still catching up.
Yeah, of course I am. Everybody knows that. They heard when you had to do the show on your own when I was late that time. So, your expertise is well known.
That's right.
But the point is, right, that I began by standing up because when I was sitting down, the guy who was my boss at the time said, it doesn't sound like you.
Yeah.
Why don't you stand up? Try and do it that way.
How strange.
So I did. George Galloway used to do his show standing up as well.
Gorgeous George.
Yeah.
So did...
you have defamed me on national radio.
Yeah, so did that guy who used to be in EastEnders, Lofty.
Lofty?
What was his name?
Who?
Tom somebody.
Tom Lofty?
No. He was known as Lofty in EastEnders, but in fact his name was Tom something.
Oh, really?
Arsenal fan.
Oh, yeah.
He was actually the Wembley historian, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when Wembley closed down, I asked him to do a documentary on the history of Wembley.
Was this for Talk Sport?
Yeah, for Talk Sport.
Yeah.
He looked completely puzzled and asked, why me?
Yeah.
I said, well, you're
the curator.
Yeah, that's right. His name's Tom Watt.
Tom Watt?
Just remembered, yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was. And he used to do it standing up, and he did that because he was an actor by trade. And
so he felt more at home doing
Well,
it.
he had very theatrical delivery, used to his arms and his shoulders and all that. He was very good.
Right.
And that's the way he used to do it. But anyway, that's by the by. Now, I've made an amazing discovery today.
Have you?
Did you know that darts in pubs is making a huge comeback?
I didn't know that, no. I know that darts is incredibly popular.
Well, yeah, but you see, this. Now, I've been beating this drum for 20 years.
Have you?
About 20 years ago, I used to go to a pub in Stockbroker Belt called The Foley.
The Foley?
Yeah, in Claygate, near Esher.
That's an Axel Foley.
As in Axel Foley, yeah. And this pub has a history because in the sports hall attached to the pub, when I say sports hall, it's just a little gym. It's where Frank Bruno had his first ever fight.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So,
Has it got a proper full-size boxing ring then?
No, not at all. It was, when I say his first ever fight, they put a boxing ring up that night, that's right, in the kind of the sports hall. It's just like a shed, really, attached to or a garage attached to the pub. But anyway, the point is, there were two sides to this pub. One was a very gentlemanly side where all the aristocracy came in. I mean, literally, the landed gentry, from Esher and places like that.
Yeah.
Rich people who... There's one guy there who had
from Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Oh, very much so.
Snobs.
Yeah. And one guy there who came in was a right blithering idiot, but he'd inherited his father's jute company.
Oh, right. Was he from Dundee?
No, he wasn't.
Because Dundee was the sort of home of all the jute
was
millionaires.
It? Yeah, okay. Well, this bloke had a jute factory. They make rope, don't they? Jute is rope.
Jute? No, it's like it's a precious a thing, isn't it? Isn't it a precious stone?
No. Jute is the stuff I'm talking about is like it's a material which you wrap around rope or something.
Oh, really?
Something like that, yeah. Or
why would you wrap around rope?
I don't know. Use it on boats.
Surely you'd use rope to wrap around rope.
No. Use it on boats and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's the sort of stuff it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jute is a long, soft, shiny vegetable fibre that's spun into coarse, strong threads.
That's it. Yeah.
Produced primarily from plants.
Yeah, to make rope.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had this jute factory, and he was very wealthy, and he used to get completely bladderated, and then invite everybody, and I mean everybody in the pub, back to his house for a party.
I mentioned this guy before.
Have I? Yeah, I didn't realise I had actually, because I only just remembered about him. And people would run riot in his house. I mean, they'd have races on motorbikes in his garden.
He had more in common with Eddie Murphy than he thought. That's what happened to Eddie Murphy in Trading Places.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And they'd raid his drinks cabinet and steal his booze and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point of my story is that was one side of the Foley. The other side of the Foley was for basically the farm workers, I suppose.
Farm workers?
Yeah, because it really was in the heart of Stockbroker Belt.
Quite rural.
Well, sort of, but I mean mostly like small holdings and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
And a lot of stables where people went riding and all that kind of stuff, And so the very working class people would go on the other side, but it was in the other side where the darts board was, right?
Yeah.
So when the toffs wanted to play darts, they insisted that the landlord swept the place clear of all the filth. If you see what I mean.
Isn't it? Shocking.
Well, that is that sort of attitude. I don't mean.
Which side of the pub were you siding with then here?
I was on the posh side.
Were you not with the horny-handed sons of the soil?
No, but I like to play darts, and so we go on the other side, and as I say, the landlord would clear it and tell them it was closed for the night and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
But it was a precious commodity because fewer and fewer pubs were having darts boards. Now, I've been saying to landlords over the years, when you get a darts board, is
it called a darts board or a dart board?
It's called a dart board.
Dart board, not a darts board.
No, it's a darts board. It's plural.
No, I think it's a dart board, isn't it?
I think it is singular, dart board.
Yeah.
I think if you make it one word, it's dart board, and you make it two, it's a darts board. You see what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, the point of my story is over the years, they've all said, oh, you know anything about running a pub. He says, one dart board is 2 tables of 4 people eating food.
Well, that's all very well if you're selling food.
Yeah.
But what if you're not?
Yeah. Anyway, I've been told by a friend of mine who's an expert in these matters that actually food in pubs has peaked. Right?
Yeah.
And that, you get food so many places now these days, and, it's available everywhere. You can order it at home.
But isn't the point about the food that this is where they make the money, though? They make the money from the food.
Well, not anymore. It used to be. This is the whole point. Used to be, that used to be the selling point. And the selling point now is to find something which is an activity inside pubs and licensed premises.
Something to occupy them while they're drinking.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm told that there's one particular, which actually is a sports bar and grill, which we know very well, have ripped out, literally, what they used to call their fish and chip shop, right, which is, a place where people would literally... from their table without having a drink, get the fish and chips in paper and all that kind of stuff and sit down and eat them.
Right.
That's all been ripped out and been replaced by 3 alleys and dartboards.
Alleys, yeah.
If that's the right word.
Yeah.
The ocky, 3 ockies.
Okay.
3 ockies and dartsboard. And that...
What's the point of this story?
Well, the point of the story is this. This is in the City of London.
Yeah.
So you've got, wealthy people coming out of work and looking for something to do, want to play darts. The dartboard is now booked up.
Yeah.
Right, until about June.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Between the hours of 6 and 10 at night. I mean, you can still go there at, 11:30 in the morning and get a game if you wait half an hour or something.
If you haven't got a job, I suppose.
If you haven't got a lot of people who've got jobs can be around at 11:30, can't they? They might be actors or historians or something like that.
Historians?
Yeah, it might be, yeah.
Don't they work at 11:30 in the morning?
Well, they might choose to go out at 11:30 in the morning because it's quieter than 6 o'clock at night. That's the point I'm making. But it's become so popular now, they're having to ration the number of, people they can allow to play.
How extraordinary. So do you think people are playing in teams now then?
I think they're going to play in teams and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, the comeback of darts is a marvellous, in my view, a marvellous development. I'm all for it. I'm going to join in.
You quite fancy yourself a
Well, I was known as Dead-Eye Dick when I was at Trent Polytechnic.
You've never provided any substance to that.
At the University of Trent, by the way. That was a Freudian slip.
Finally told the truth.
The University of Trent.
That should be marked down.
On one occasion,
You've seen the time,
on one occasion, in the 19th and 21st Lancers, when I beat the local News of the World champion, a riot erupted in the pub. I was accused of cheating and smashed over the head with a glass jug.
Glass jug?
Yes. And,
why not a pint glass?
Sorry?
Why not a pint glass?
Well, it was a jug with a handle. That's the point I'm making. You know, and bang, smashed me over the head, accused me of cheating, which I wasn't, of course, doing.
No, of course not. And, nothing can be further from the truth.
Passions can raise very, very high.
Yeah, they can. Well, I mean, people like to have to compete in things.
Yes.
And, you know, it's a very sort of macho thing to do. We'll talk some more about that. I've got this from Martin. 20 seconds in and Porky's already threatening you. That's got to be a new record. And Steve says, why is Porky started off with a tirade of abuse? Totally unnecessary and not becoming of his so-called standing.
I don't agree. I think that, a good dollop of abuse early on in the show lets you understand exactly where we stand.
Yeah, well, indeed. Absolutely disgraceful behaviour. Well, we've got Sophie Nicolau coming up. We've got Sandra Lee as well. We've got Porkyvision. It's all happening right here on TalkSport.
I'm going slightly mad. I'm going slightly mad. It finally happened. Finally happened. Finally happened. I'm slightly mad. Oh dear.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Got lots and lots of Twitter action going on. Here's one from PJB. Yeah. I'm sure that Porky's cut glass RP accent fitted in well with the Isha Gentry.
Yes, it would.
What does RP mean?
RP means royal. Maybe royal.
Really?
Royal.
I'm not sure.
Royal personage.
I'm hoping it's not rude.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of people are putting out pictures of you from the XL Arena.
The XL Arena.
The shirt you're wearing actually isn't as loose as perhaps you described it.
Oh, it is. Honestly, it is. I when I'm working, moving, got microphones and headphones and all that kind of stuff, I like to feel loose. So that's what it was.
Okay.
Loose and cool. I can assure you I've not put on weight or anything like that.
That's good. I'm very glad to hear it. Mark the Taxi says, you should take Mike Parry to Flight Club off the City Road, a bar with loads of dartboards. I think that's the place that you were talking about that's been sold way ahead of time, isn't it?
Right.
Flight Club, that's the name of the place.
Flight Club?
Yes.
And off the City Road?
Off the City Road.
That's in the city?
Yeah, well, of course it is. It's near Old Street.
Near Old Street, that's the one. I know it, yeah.
That sort of way.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll think about that.
Gaz, who clearly wasn't listening to you, says, by the way, Tom Watt used to be on TalkSport. Well, that was the point of the story.
That was the whole point of the story, yeah. He used to do drive time, actually.
No, did he? William says this, whenever Porky starts a job as an underling, it's not long before he scales up the ladder to become Supremo.
Yeah, well, that's there's some truth in that, definitely.
And Paul says, Porky's trying to be the new Jim Bowen now. Is there anything Porky can't do?
Well, I'm not trying to be the new Jim Bowen. I'm just saying that I had a particular bent for the darts board when I was a student. That's why.
Here's one from Mark. He says, Porky talks awful drivel trying to get to the point, which I have to say I agree with him.
No, I don't. I like to explain things, rather than trying to...
You told me last night that you didn't like explaining things for too long, and that most of the time, when we were having a conversation about continentals, you said, normally I could explain this in about 25 seconds.
I explain
things.
I
have to take 10 minutes because I'm always asking you stupid questions.
No, I like to explain things, because excuse me, I don't like to bamboozle our audience,
Okay, Sawley says, Porky smashed over the head with a jug in a pub riot. Is he sure he wasn't in that Wetherspoons last week?
No.
Down in Trowbridge.
No, I wasn't actually. I wasn't.
In fact, speaking of things being smashed over heads, I'm going to ask you for an explanation for this, right?
Okay.
Do you know how people have been sending in many, many things, letters, postcards, cards, presents of all sorts to the Postman Paul?
Yes, they have.
Well, I received a package today,
right,
which I picked up on my way in,
right,
addressed to me,
right,
not addressed to Postman Paul, right? And it was a rather sort of shabby-looking box.
Right.
And I opened it, and it looked like it had been slightly opened. It looked a bit shabby. I opened it up, and inside, is this bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to put a picture out of it because it's been addressed to me with the address on it. Because I don't know who it's from. There was no note with it.
Right.
But the bottle's smashed.
Smashed.
It's all smashed. It's a bottle of red wine. It looks like, I can see it's a yellow tail.
Oh, that's awful.
But I just wondered if you had anything to do with it.
Well, no, nothing at all. Was it properly packaged? I mean, have they wrapped it up to protect the bottle from being smashed?
It's got bubble wrap around it. It's got newspaper. Inside the box, there was loads of loads of padding.
I have to say, I've seen one of these secret camera type reports on some of these depots where parcels are, and the way they just hurl parcels around without any consideration as to what's inside them is quite frightening, really.
Well, I find this amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you package up a bottle? And there's a scene, I don't know if you've ever seen that Jim Carrey film, Pet Detective.
Yes, I have.
Do you know that start of the scene where he's kicking the box down the corridor?
No.
And he's pretending to be like a UPS delivery guy.
Oh, is he?
He's actually going to rescue a dog.
Oh, I see.
From this horrible
so why
owner.
is he kicking the box around?
Well, because it's just sort of for comedic value.
Is it?
But
I think he's the least funny man in the world, to be honest. Yeah.
I quite like Jim Carrey.
And in fact, I think in that same film,
Pet Detective is brilliant.
Didn't he come down the stairs and embarrass a woman by wearing a fox around his neck or something?
No. What he did was she was standing next to a guy who looked like the Monopoly Man.
Right. Okay.
Right? And so he picked the Monopoly Man up and wrapped him around his shoulders.
Oh,
he was quite a short guy.
Right.
And sort of threw his arm over it like the stole
that
she was wearing. And
right.
he was like, this is what everyone's wearing this year. And it was very funny, actually.
Was
I
it?
thought.
I didn't think it was funny at all.
Oh, you haven't got that kind of sense of humour.
No. Well, I've got a sense of humour. I think he's a bit sort of wacko.
He is wacko.
Yeah.
Now, that's one of the reasons we like him.
Yeah. Now, listen.
Anyway, so whoever did send me in a bottle of Yellowtail, it's very kind of you, but I'm afraid you'll have to send in another one because this one's busted.
Yes.
I'll send a picture out.
We actually also received a package from Becky, didn't we?
We did.
And perhaps you'd like to explain the campaign that we've been trying to help over the last week or so.
Well, this was, of course, something that we started, I think it was last week. A little boy called Leo, who's in need of some desperately urgent brain surgery.
In America.
Proton treatment, which is not available here on the NHS.
That's right.
And in order for him to go out there, he needed to raise £150,000.
Yes.
And incredibly, I have to say, due to the very wonderful generosity of a lot of Two Mics listeners, they got it up to about 90,000.
That's right.
Within the course of about a week.
That's right.
And then the rest of the money was supplied by an anonymous donor.
That's right.
We don't know who that was. Don't know if it was
in.
somebody who heard our campaign.
Yeah.
But you know, we can only thank everybody for doing it. Anyway, as a result of raising the money, his treatment has started. He's been going to Alder Hey Hospital up in Liverpool, and he should be going over to the United States, I think, in a matter of days.
It's fantastic.
To start the treatment. So it's a tremendous thing. And Becky very kindly sent us in a bottle of champagne, and a bottle of wine,
and a bottle of Pinot Grigio, and some liqueur whiskey chocolate.
Yes.
So, Becky, I just wanted to say thank you very much indeed. And next time there is a postman pork, and that will be when the mail mounts up, and there's a pile of it out there. I'm not sure if we've got time to do it tonight. Maybe tomorrow night. We will be making a point of thanking you for your gifts.
We will, absolutely right. Thank you very much. Dave says this: Porky's accused of cheating at darts. Maybe we need to add the gerrymandered darts to the Porky Museum.
No, I don't think so.
I think we might have to.
No, I don't think so at all. Now, talking about pubs, right? Why do I shiver when I read things like pubs under threat for a massive rise in business rates? The venison pie on the blackboard is locally sourced. The regulars drink real ales from the best local breweries. As a popular pub in Shropshire, the Queen's prides itself on being a small but important cog in the local economy of the pretty market town of Ludlow. But guess what? Its business rates are going up by 146% next year.
Ludlow's quite a picturesque place.
It's very picturesque. It's a lovely little town. The bill for the business rates will go up for the owners from 8,470 to 20,850.
Wow.
I mean, don't they realise that the pub trade in this country is under threat already from all sorts of different sources because of the mad tax system in this country?
Well, it's
that
not
taxes
just
things so heavily, taxes us all out of business, right?
It's not just because of that, but I mean, I was reading a piece earlier today about Sucky Hall Street in Glasgow, right?
Yes.
And when you get to the end of Sucky Hall Street, if you're coming from Charing Cross, it becomes a sort of pedestrianised area just before you get to Buchanan Street. And all the shops down there are apparently closing because they can't compete any longer with the shopping malls and all the rest of it. And so the Ann Summers shop, which is the first ever Ann Summers shop in Scotland, having been there for, I don't know, 20 or 30 years, is having to shut down.
It doesn't surprise me at all. And you know, the anomaly is they are revising business rates after 7 years. Yeah. But some small businesses are getting increases of 500%. But huge warehouses like Amazon, which, you know, I'm not an anti-Amazon person, I like successful businesses, they're getting a business rate reduction because of the,
What's happening with your poll tax, by the way, your council tax in Surrey? Because they were going to have a referendum, weren't they? They're not having it now.
No, they scrapped it. They're going to have a referendum on whether to put it up 15%, and they realised that they would lose that massively, so they cut back on that. And it looks like now they're going to do a lot of other authorities are doing. That's putting it up by 4.9% because you can put it up to 5% before you have to
reaching out for a sort of a ruling.
That's right. Before you have to have a plebiscite on whether or not it.
Plebiscite.
Yes, that's right.
That's serious.
On whether it can be put up.
By the way, Joanne thankfully points out that RP is received pronunciation.
Oh yes.
Does that mean received pronunciation as in the way that you are supposed to speak?
Well,
or in the way that you do speak?
I suppose it's the same expression as received wisdom. You see what I mean?
I see. Yeah.
I.e., you know...
that everybody knows it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Well, does that mean that the previous tweeter is suggesting that you speak in a way which is kind of normal?
No. I speak in a very cosmopolitan sort of
Because you haven't... Because when I first met you, I remember thinking that you had a bit of a Birmingham accent.
Well, a lot of people said that, and that must be because I worked in Birmingham for a number of years, about 3 years.
Yeah, but I mean, now it doesn't seem... But now it doesn't seem like a Birmingham accent.
Well,
I'm not quite sure what sort of accent it is.
Well, I've lived successively in Chester, Newcastle,
right,
Birmingham, London, New York, London. Where else? Nottingham.
Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Yeah.
Nottingham, me duck.
Yeah.
You know, in Nottingham, they'll talk like that, me duck.
Gosport.
Gosport, yeah, it's another...
Orwell Key, Ipswich.
Orwell Key, Ipswich. Live in Orwell Key in Ipswich, and you talk like this, you do, you know?
You know, one of my kids
Go
got
down
a great
Ipswich
game.
High Street.
One of my kids got a great game from Santa at Christmas, which is a game where you pick a card, and you have to do a particular film quote, and then you pick another card, and it tells you which accent you have to do it in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I might bring it in.
Oh, so,
like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn what you might get.
Yes.
But you might have to do it in a Norfolk accent.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
And you get points for, how good it is.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Who are you?
Who are you?
You show me no respect.
Yeah, show me no respect. You know,
can do this all
you
night.
want my job? You come and do my job. I'm telling you, who are you?
I'm telling you.
So,
we could do it.
So they're saying I go and get sacked in the morning. They only won one game out of 7. Who are you?
Who are you? This is Talk Sport.
The boy who wouldn't grow up chasing his own tail. The boy who couldn't grow up and acting on bail. Oh, idiot child, clutching to life. Always made to grow up, always told to shut up. Idiot child.
I've just sent out a picture of the broken bottle of wine that I got in the hopes that somebody might recognise the writing on the note to see, because I don't know who it's from, you see, so I'd quite like to find out.
Yeah, good idea.
In case you can send us another one.
Yes.
Here's one from Lee in Bournemouth, who says, MG Porky's halfway there to being a darts player with a belly that big.
What?
Which seems a bit harsh, doesn't it?
Yeah, very harsh.
And everyone, from Paul, here's one from Paul's QPR fan. Porky, parcel companies throw everything around because they are from Parcel Force.
Yes.
I think that's meant to be a joke.
I see what you mean. Yeah, we're not accusing Parcel Force per se of abusing their parcels.
I'm not sure who sent it in, actually.
Somebody's trying to make a joke out of the word Parcel Force, but don't worry, you're exonerated.
PJB says, is Norfolk now in Bristol?
Norfolk's now in Bristol. Well, they sound very similar, don't they?
Well, they sort of segued from Norfolk into Ian Holloway, didn't we?
Yeah, but I mean,
who are you?
Hang on, West Country accents. A man from the West Country talk like that, and somebody from Norfolk talk like that as well. I think,
there is probably a similarity.
There's a country language in this country.
There's a slight Sussex brogue, which sounds a little bit like that as well.
Yeah,
in certain parts of Sussex.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
I went and bought some wood for some guys the other day.
Yeah.
And they were speaking a bit like that, and they were talking about London as if it was Mars.
Yes.
Because I said, well, I'm not really here during the week. So,
That's right.
I said, I work in London. They looked at me as if, like those old movies of Dracula's in the castle.
Yeah,
and they kind of looked at me like, ooh.
Yeah.
You're in London.
That's right, yeah.
We don't go up there.
That's right. Listen, who do you think are the maddest women in the world? And this is not an anti-woman thing, by the way.
Who do I think are the maddest women in the world? Have you any idea how badly I don't want to answer that?
Well, let me tell you who I think they are.
I think there's at least three of them are women that I know.
Well, I'm not getting into that because that's personal. What I'm saying is, these women who marry long-term prisoners...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just beggars belief.
I know.
There's a guy called, variously, Charles Bronson.
Oh, he's mad.
Well, he's changed his name now to Charles Salvador. After No, to what?
Charles Manson.
No. He's changed his name to Charles Salvador.
Well, he changed his name to Charles Bronson after the Death Wish movie.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So that wasn't his real name to begin with.
No, of course it wasn't. No, he was born Peter somebody, I think, in my memory.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's doing like life, okay, so...
he's a terrible, violent criminal.
He's done 37 years in solitary confinement, of 41 years spent in jail, and he's 64.
Well, because he used to get into fights with the warders, used to get into fights. I think he might have killed somebody in prison as well, hasn't he?
I'll check that out for you, just in case.
I mean, he was known as Britain's most violent criminal.
A most dangerous criminal, and he certainly kidnaps people inside prison, holds them hostage and threatens them and all. And these people sometimes are teachers trying to help him and all this kind of stuff. But I remember a couple of years ago, the ridiculous story about him marrying some lady who'd been writing to him. I think she was rather an elegant-looking Indian lady, and she wore a sari and her wedding day and all that. And of course, it's so ridiculous because
Who's sorry now?
Who's sorry now? I like that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Sorry.
And obviously you can't have a marriage when you're serving a life sentence and your wife's on the outside.
Although, knowing this country as we do, if you do marry somebody like him, you probably get conjugal visits and conjugal rights, so you can go in and have a bit of horizontal refreshment while he's locked up.
Well, the man who must not be named, i.e. John Lennon's killer...
Oh, I thought the man who must not be named was the Observer's food critic.
Well, the Observer food critic as well. But John Lennon's killer...
Yeah, Chapman
actually gets, I think, once every 3 months to spend 2 days in this sort of caravan in the prison grounds, and his wife or girlfriend's allowed to visit. I mean, it's mad.
It's better off than you, then, isn't it?
Well, he is better off than me. You're absolutely right, yeah. But, although we shouldn't make jokes about somebody who's such a horrible criminal.
No, exactly.
But anyway, the point of this story is, this Charles Bronson guy is getting married again.
Right.
It says, and he's marrying an ex-Emmerdale actress. Now, I mean...
I've seen pictures of this woman. I mean, she looks, to all intents and purposes, she looks a relatively sort of run-of-the-mill, ordinary woman, right?
Well, I would say she's not unattractive.
No.
She's 35 years of age. She's from Stoke-on-Trent. And she turns up in jail to visit him.
Right.
I don't know why women have these fascinations about, sort of male killers in jail and all that kind of stuff, and terrible male criminals.
Well, I think, is it not partly their mothering instinct, perhaps?
Well,
they think
maybe.
That, he might need to be, mothered or something?
Maybe. But anyway, she's 35 years of age, and she describes their unusual bond as, "We are so in love. I've had relationships with both men and women in the past, but none of them comes close to my love for Charlie. He's so eccentric." Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we're describing a guy who takes people prisoner in prison.
Cuts somebody's head off or something.
Exactly, yeah.
You don't want to get him angry.
Yeah, but she points out that in recent years he's taken up art and poetry.
Oh, good.
Changing his name to Charles Salvador in homage to his favourite artist, Salvador Dali.
Oh, great.
Why
doesn't he call himself Charles Dali?
I don't know. It says, Miss Williamson is understood to have been in a relationship with the prisoner for 5 months. Oh, that's a very long romance.
Yeah.
She arrived at the jail for his proposal, wearing a revealing red dress and sporting a necklace bearing the name Salvador. I mean...
It is very weird, isn't it?
And she says...
Of course, it happens in America even more, where the guys are on death row.
Women travel from Britain.
Yeah.
They travel from Britain after writing to these guys for years and go and propose to them days before they're due to be electrocuted.
I had to befriend a guy called Kenny Ritchie, who was a bit of a, what can only be described as a bit of a Ned from sort of the wrong side of Edinburgh,
who
got put on death row in the United States for setting fire to an entire building, which killed loads of people, right?
Yeah.
There was a big campaign for years and years to make out that he was innocent.
Yes.
And we finally got him out.
Yes.
Right? And he was having a long-term sort of... what you could describe a pen pal situation with some woman. He came out and then married.
Yeah.
And I think after about 6 months she left him.
Unbelievable.
Because he was such a horrible guy.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Bronson was first jailed for 7 years in 1974 for his part in an armed robbery, which netted him a total of £26. 2 years later...
It's not too bright.
I was going to say, he's not the most successful criminal in the world. 2 years later, while serving part of the sentence in HMP Parkhurst on the Isle of Wight, he befriended the Cray twins. Further portions of his sentence were served in secure hospitals, including Broadmoor. Finally released in 1987, but then he robbed a jewellery shop to steal a ring for his then-girlfriend and was free for only 69 days. He's been married twice before. I mean, honestly...
Is that the extent of his criminal record? I'm sure he was more violent than that.
That's not his complete criminal record. He's... it's too long to actually detail, but he has, been done for kidnapping and hostage taking, all that kind of stuff,
Exactly, yeah.
But the point is, I think at one stage, he professed that he's so institutionalised now, it would be very... the scenes in the Shawshank Redemption?
Yes.
When at the end these old guys get out and they've spent like 35, they'll start hanging themselves and all that kind of stuff. So
one of them did.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was two.
It was only one. Yeah.
Only one was it? Yeah. And anyway, it's a weird old world. It's a weird old world.
It certainly is a weird old world.
Say.
Here's a picture that's going to upset you.
Yeah.
In one of the papers this morning.
Yes.
It's a Russian model, right? Who is on Instagram.
They're usually very attractive Russian models.
Yeah, well, never mind that. But she's hanging over that massive, that skyscraper in Dubai.
Yes.
Being held only by her wrist.
No.
Isn't that incredible?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Well, I mean, I can't believe that. I mean...
She put it on her Instagram.
And that must be a staged picture. The chap's hanging onto her wrist. She's dangling over the edge of the tallest building in the world.
Yeah.
And they're all smiling.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be smiling if somebody's dangling me off the edge of the biggest building in the world, I tell you.
And she says all these stunts have been performed by professionals. Do not try them yourself.
Yeah, well...
The model does not appear to be using any safety equipment, and some branded her actions stupid and dangerous.
Yeah.
She's based in St. Petersburg. She says, I still can't believe that I did it. Every time I watch this video, my palms get sweaty. And it's the Cayenne Tower in Dubai, which is 73 floors above the ground.
God, blimey.
It contains 495 apartments.
Yeah, nothing...
Have you never thought about getting one over there?
No, I haven't actually.
Which hasn't the Dubai bubble burst slightly? You get a bargain.
No, it burst about 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
But I think it's come back quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
No, listen, I'll tell you what I was going to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Did you ever used to watch Lewis?
Lewis, well, I actually still occasionally watch it.
Yeah, I do as well.
Now, in fact, I prefer Lewis to Morse, actually.
Yeah, I do. I never got on with Morse.
I didn't like Morse.
Morse, to me, was an incomplete character.
Yeah.
Here's this terribly, serious policeman who drinks red wine.
And he's like no other policeman I've ever met.
No, that's right. A glass of red wine and reading...
And listen to classical music.
Listen to classical music and reading a bit of Oedipus at night at home, whilst the world's criminals are at large.
Yes, but I'm terribly clever.
Yeah, terribly clever and talking
Whereas Lewis is like every police detective I've ever met.
That's right.
Pretty down to earth.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty much a kind of average guy.
The reason I couldn't stand Morse as well is because it was played by John Thaw.
I like John Thaw normally.
But whenever you look at John Thaw, all you can see is Jack Regan in the Sweeney. You can't see anything else.
That's it.
That's it, yeah. Your Nick.
Get your trousers on.
Get your trousers on, your Nick. We're a Sweeney, we haven't had any tea. Anyway, the reason I mentioned Lewis is that I thought the best actor in that show was by a mile Lawrence Fox, who played...
He's now taken over as the boss, hasn't he?
I'm not sure if the new series has come out yet, but he was at the end of the last series because Lewis himself, played by, the bloke who was...
Kevin Whately, wasn't it?
Kevin Whately, well done.
I once played golf behind him, and there was a big story going on that we had to try and get hold of Kevin Whately.
I see.
And I kept trying to catch up to him so that I could ask him a question.
Well, he'd retired in the show, and Lawrence Fox said no. But I thought he was but the reason why I like Lawrence Fox even more now, and unfortunately he went through a very sort of painful and public separation from Billie Piper, the singer and actress.
Right.
But he said...
Was that after she was with Chris Evans?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they were married. And I think they might be divorced, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm delighted to see he's actually declared, I hate cats. He said, my first memory is of my grandmother saying, don't go near the cat. My second is of blood gushing out after the cat attacked me.
Really?
He said, cats look at us as if they rule the world. I'm scared of them. Dogs are your friend. Dogs look at you and they go, hey, I missed you while you're at work today. Cats do not do that.
No.
That's another recruit to my campaign. Cats are pure evil.
Well, I don't think you're
pure
being
evil.
I don't think you're being entirely sort of honest and generous about cats. There might be some cats which have evil tendencies.
Oh, all cats are evil.
But all cats are not evil.
All cats are evil.
By the same token, all cats are not nice. All dogs are not nice.
I discourage
My
cats
dog
in a big way.
Gets so excited when he sees me. It's incredible.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying, but cats don't. Cats think,
He was even quite friendly to you, which
he was
quite
actually,
surprising.
What cats look at their owners and what they're saying is, you're lucky to have me. And unless you treat me right, I'm going to make your life a misery.
Yeah.
Urinate on your curtains and all that kind of stuff.
Calm down.
That's what they
do. It's a family show.
That's what they do.
Coming up later on, we'll be on Periscope. You'll be able to see how Porky does Porkyvision.
Yes.
And whether or not he needs any artificial aids. Right now, coming up, though, it's time for Sophie Nicolau.
Alarm again with the opportunity to bring it forward towards the edge of the penalty area. Might have hit a first-time ball. Instead, it was worked out into a wider position. Now it comes for Robin. Oh, it's a screaming goal from Ian Robin. Minimal backlift. but he's punted it into the top left-hand corner past David Ospina, and Bayern have an early reward for all of their possession. The familiar same old story for Arsenal, up against it in the early stages of the first leg of the round of 16. Bayern 1, Arsenal 0, and it's a goal of the highest quality.
Arsenal will get a phase of play in this game and get back into the game, and here they have got it.
It's a penalty to Arsenal. In came the corner. And there was just a challenge towards the edge of the 6-yard box. The Bayern players are furious because they feel a boot was raised, but Arsenal have a penalty. Sanchez runs up, right foot in. Neuer has saved it. Sanchez has missed the follow-up. Brought down, he's put it in. Second time of asking. Arsenal get the away goal. They are back on level terms. A bizarre penalty. Bayern couldn't clear their lines after the initial save. Sanchez had a couple of attempts at it, but has been able to side-foot it over the line. Ball played in the other end. It's in. Lahm with a deep delivery. Lewandowski at the far post, climbing above his man, able to guide a header back across the face of Ospina into the corner. And Bayern Munich have the advantage again. Robert Lewandowski making it 2-1. Thiago Alcantara laying it off for Xabi Alonso. As Real Madrid go 3-1 up at home to Napoli. Could be the same scoreline here. It is. Ball play through the midfield. And Thiago Alcantara walked onto it. They've scored 2 in 3 minutes. And are Arsenal's Champions League hopes dying at the hands of Bayern Munich yet again. Bayern 3, Arsenal 1. Bayern again from the resulting corner, their third in quick succession. Coquelin heads it away. Thiago Alcantara through a crowd of players and in. It's 4-1, and they've scored 3 in 10 minutes. But it could get worse. A mistake by Oxlade-Chamberlain. Kimmich, Rafinha, Muller, edge of the area, takes a touch, side-foots it into the net. Bayern Munich 5, Arsenal 1. The Gunners have pressed self-destruct, losing the ball on the edge of the penalty area. Arsenal out of the Champions League, surely.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. Of course, the Champions League was live right here on TalkSport. Bayern Munich beating Arsenal by 5-1. It is February, and it is, of course, that time of the year when we have to have a little counselling session with one Ms. Sophie Nicolau. Sophie, a very good morning to you.
So did you have to replay the entire highlight reel?
Well, to be honest, that's not.
I came on,
that's not my decision. Unfortunately, it's the decision of one Mr. Levine, who happens to be a Spurs fan.
Oh, was it David? Was it David? Yeah, that's a shocker.
He's had a big broad grin on his face ever since we got in tonight. I'm not quite sure why, really, but
Sophie, that's not your worst nightmare.
I used to have so much love for him.
Yeah, Sophie, that's not your worst nightmare.
What's my worst?
What your worst nightmare is, I've got all tomorrow morning's papers in front of me. I'm going to read you just a few of the headlines, OK?
Oh, dear.
The Daily Mirror, baying for blood. The Telegraph, no way back.
Oh.
The Guardian, Wenger sees Arsenal fold yet again. The Times, Groundhog Day. But here's the worst one, the Mail, right across the top.
Uh-oh.
The verdict on Arsenal's Munich capitulation, spineless. How do you?
I think that's all fair.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So,
I mean,
Mike, you know when you go from meltdown, breakdown, rock bottom.
Yeah.
Arsenal have officially hit rock bottom. It's time for FA, Football Anonymous, some type of therapy, some type of action that is going to change things at the club. That was you can't defend the indefensible.
Yeah.
That was without question. I was just saying to David before I came on, that was more humiliating than the 8-2 or 3 drubbing that we got at Old Trafford a few seasons ago.
Yes.
The utter capitulation after we conceded the second goal, there's no excuse for that. The spinelessness, the mental ineptitude, the inability to find and dig deep as men and as football players on the pitch to fight, to show some type of grit and determination. And I've told you before many times on this show, the sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of people on your station, like Adrian and Jason Cundy, who have been killed by Arsenal fans because of their opinions of the club and also players like Mesut Ozil. And they're right. There's nothing else you can say to justify what happened in the Champions League tonight. That was, I have 2 cousins, my cousin George Constantinou, my cousin George Dimitriou, who went out to Munich, sent me happy videos beforehand, looking forward to the game. They support the club. They pay to see the club. They're season ticket holders. And at the end of the day, guys, fans deserve a lot better than that. I'm not ragging on Wenger. I'm not a hater. But at some point, you absolutely have to make a decision and make a change.
I mean, Mike said at the top of the show, in a way, this conversation goes on every year.
It just goes round in circles.
I've had this conversation really pretty much every February for years and years and years, Sophie, because every February, certainly for the last 7, basically Arsenal have gone out at this stage of the Champions League. They've usually looked a little bit shaky in the Premier League as well, which is the way it looks at the moment too. And with Koscielny now out, probably going to miss the second leg and maybe who knows how many other games, they look hopeless without him at the back.
Arsenal isn't a football club. Arsenal's a business. As a football club, they're irrelevant now. They've won, yes, we've won the FA Cup 5 in the last, absolutely. And I may get killed for that, and I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. We are not a relevant football club anymore. We are a football club that is run as a business. It's not about winning. The last time I checked, sports was about winning. I'm not being melodramatic, and I'm not going over the top. But, Chelsea get criticised for sacking managers, and they have this revolving door of management. But they've developed a winning culture and mentality that Arsenal used to have. So they make changes that have benefited the club. And if you look at it, every manager who they've replaced another manager with has actually won a trophy. Even Rafa Benitez won a trophy when he took the job at Chelsea. Manchester United, yes, they've spent a boatload of money. Yes, Pogba hasn't performed, but they're trying to get back to their best. They're putting in an effort and they're investing in the team to try and get back to the glory years of Manchester United. And I fear that we're going to end up a little bit like Liverpool. We're in this vortex of
doom,
decline,
doom. Build a club.
There's only one vortex, the vortex of doom.
Yes, and it's you know what? It's gone from being insane to very sad. It was a really sad night tonight for Arsenal Football Club. And I don't know if there are any Arsenal fans out there that can defend keeping Wenger now. It's not about winning the FA Cup. If you're going to go into the Champions League, you've got to put in an effort to win it. But the business formula is let's get to the round of 16, we make money, we'll qualify next year. We are not a club like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Juventus even, Chelsea, Manchester City, that are building a team to win. That's not the philosophy of the football club anymore, and it's exceptionally sad. And when I see fans like my cousins who go out there and pay hard-earned money to watch the team and support the team, and you end up with something like that, I mean, what has happened to Mesut Ozil? Who is he?
Yeah, indeed. And you think, I mean, even with his own sort of pride in himself, that he would want to have put in a good performance against Bayern Munich, but he didn't. But I mean, we talked about this the other day. Ian Wright said he met Arsene Wenger recently, and it seemed to him that Wenger might be nearing sort of the point of no return, i.e., he might be realising it's time to move away.
I respect Arsene Wenger and what he has done for the team. Mike, you and I have talked about this many times. When he came into English football, he did not only revolutionise Arsenal Football Club, he revolutionised the game. He brought in a totally different philosophy from the nutritional perspective and the health of players to the way we played. Sir Alex Ferguson has credited him for that. Sensational. The year of the Invincible. We'll never see anything like that again. But that was so long ago. And like every business that has a CEO that's brought success and then fails, there has to come a time for change. Also, preparation. Think about how the Coquelin Arjen Robben goal, right? Let's look at that goal real quick. Arjen Robben is a genius with his left foot. We all know he's going to take that shot, a lot like Angel Di Maria did last night against Barcelona.
Sure.
You're not closing him down, and you're allowing him to get to go on his left, and Ozil's just standing there watching. Is that the ineptitude of the player, or is that the ineptitude of the management team not preparing the team to know how to break down and how to close down players like Robben? Surely it's a little mix and a little bit of both.
Now, Mike, just
I've heard people want to give Ospina
listen, Sophie, it's very painful listening to you. Look, Mike wants to ask you a question, but we've got an Arsenal fan, Andrew, just landed from Munich, but you go ahead and we'll get to him in a second.
The thing is, Sophie, it's all very well saying Wenger out. Who's going to come in? You see, Ronald Koeman is being billed. Ronald Koeman being billed to go to Barcelona
I
because
thought you said that was going to happen.
Well, hang on. It's speculation on the back of the papers. Now, what I'm saying is, unlike Arsenal,
your toffees, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but unlike Arsenal, when things go wrong at Barcelona, there's no question of replacing the coach, the manager, call him what you want. He's going. He's out because he's embarrassing the club.
Exactly.
Now, Arsenal don't have that psyche. They should have that psyche. But the question is going to be, if Wenger goes, who's going to take over?
Well, let's hold on for 1 second. Let's talk to Andrew.
Mike, you're talking.
Sophie, stay there for a second because Andrew's on the phone. He just got back from Munich. Andrew, how are you?
Good evening, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well
indeed.
What do you think about the whole situation? I don't know if you were able to hear what Sophie was saying.
Yeah, I heard some of it, so put on hold. I mean, it's interesting, she uses the word Footballers Anonymous. I think we just landed, obviously there's a lot of talk on the plane about what went on and the aftermath and how they capitulated, and all those things are absolutely true. And you come back to Wenger, what's interesting, he said if this was Real Madrid or Barcelona, they'd have the white flags out and he'll be waving the white
absolutely.
flag. And actually, the fact it's not happening, and the fact that people aren't doing that openly is a huge sign of respect for Wenger. And I think the issues are very much that he is an addict, and he is an Arsenal addict. And whatever people say about him, he loves the club, and he is addicted to the club.
Well, in that case, he should get out. He should get out if he loves the club.
And that is actually the issue. He needs to be safe from himself. It needs someone to turn around to him and say, you know what, Arsene, do it on your own terms. We want you to have the respect continued. Because he still does have that from the supporters. Us who go week in, week out.
But how soon before he loses that if he doesn't do something?
I think tonight was the point that we all took about on the plane, that it was the nail in the coffin, and it was the point beyond which that we've seen it happen over and over again. Look, the biggest issue for me is, that they're a wonderful side to watch. Bayern, you know the way they play, you know the way that Lahm overlaps, we know the way that Robin cuts in. You know all these things. They've had 3 months to prepare for that game. This sure wasn't last week. They've had 3 months to come up with a plan to go out there and to stop Bayern playing. And yet, you look at it tonight, there's not one thing. Look, we're sitting there going, Ozil has been anonymous since November.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think Sophie covered all those points,
Yeah, she did.
Absolutely.
This is a man who's feeling the pain because he's gone all the way out to Munich at great expense, and he's had to spend that money to watch an absolute shambles. Sophie, we've got to go, but one final word from you. Are you still an Arsenal fan?
I will always be an Arsenal fan. I support the club through thick and thin.
Okay. Well, there we are. It's a nightmare for Arsenal fans. We'll be talking about it a little bit more later on. This is Talk Sport. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes on Talk Sport. We've been talking about the Champions League. We've talked about Arsenal. Tonight, of course, it's the Europa League. Spurs are in action, as are Manchester United. We'll be talking about that. Also, we'll be doing Porkyvision as well a little bit later on. We'll be broadcasting it live on Periscope and on Twitter. And Chandra Lee is going to be joining us from Australia with all the big stories from her part of the world. We'll find out what the shark attack scenario is, whether the crocodiles are getting restless, and the kangaroos as well. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport.
Now, why do I keep getting tweets from people saying, why does MG always read out the tweets which take the mickey out of me, but you never read out tweets which take the mickey out of you?
Well, because that's your job.
Maybe my job, but I don't wish to belittle my broadcasting partner in the way that you feel it necessary.
How did you start the show?
In the way that you feel it.
How did you start the show?
In the way you find it necessary to try and belittle me.
How
just
did you
to
start
make
the show?
Just stop interrupting. Just to make yourself feel bigger and better.
No.
I think you have a complex.
Well, if you want to read out any tweets which are against me, then feel free to do so.
Okay.
The problem is I don't think you know how to do that because you can't do two things at once.
I've got a tweet here. It's from a guy called Julian. Julian, thank you very much indeed.
Julian.
And he sends in a picture of a fat, ugly Russian guy. Okay. And
a fat, ugly Russian guy.
Yeah, that's right. This man's name is
Be careful.
Alexander Vedenikov.
You don't want to upset a Russian, though.
Comrade
if you're going to
Alexander.
call the comrade fat and ugly, you might get the old poisoned umbrella treatment. At some point.
I hope that Comrade Alexander does not speak English.
Yeah.
And he says, I've just found the real-life picture of old MG. Here's his double, or is it Alexander Verdenikov?
Verdenikov? Who is this guy, Verdenikov?
Some sort of prominent Russian businessman or something.
Oh, is he?
But he looks dead like you because he's big,
He
fat,
looks dead.
pasty-faced, wears glasses, a swathe of dark hair.
Yes.
He is a ringer for you, I have to say, yeah.
Well, put it out there and see if people agree.
Yeah, well, I'm going to.
I think I saw that a little bit earlier on. I think I actually retweeted it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, certainly anyone who suggests that I don't read out any tweets which are negative towards me is not listening to the show properly, because I do it quite frequently.
And it's old Stumpy Dog who points this out. He says, why have I started off with a tirade of abuse, totally unnecessary and not becoming of my so-called standing? However,
I read that out in the first hour.
You did you? Yeah. However, there are some tweets here which have to be brought to the public attention, okay?
Yes.
Now, this one here, which is quite concerning, says... hang on a second.
So the trouble is, you won't find any tweets.
Yes.
There aren't any.
Yes, I will. Don't worry. Now, this one here, this is the one that...
You're struggling here, aren't you? Struggling.
No. Here we go. Somebody's saying, why are you so arrogant when you go into a chemist? Nurofen Plus contains codeine. The assistant would have been breaking the law and selling it to you without a pharmacist being there. Right. Why are you so arrogant? So perhaps you can answer that.
Well, I can answer that by saying that if you run a business, right, and you want to sell things to people, then you should be able to sell them while you're open. If you're open for business, then you have no business getting rid of the pharmacist for an hour and saying, "Oh, we won't be able to sell." What if you're driven for 20 miles, as some people do in that part of the country, to have your prescription filled, and you arrived at 1:30 in the afternoon to be told, "Oh, well, you'll have to wait an hour because the pharmacist's gone out for lunch."
Yeah, well,
outrageous.
It's the law. Now, you dismissively...
It's got nothing to do with arrogance. It's got this, if you're running a chemist shop, right, you should have a pharmacist there at all times.
Well, I'm sorry, but you can't have it 24 hours a day.
You agreed with me yesterday. You're now disagreeing with me,
now,
which is entirely par for the course with your hypocrisy.
You arrogantly put out a picture of the broken bottle of Yellowtail wine that arrived at TalkSport. Did you send it? You're asking for your
I'm asking if anyone out there sent it, because I'm trying to identify who it was. How is that arrogant?
I have to say that looking at the label, it looks like a child of 14 might have written it. Talking about people looking young, by the way.
Child of 14?
Yeah, talking about people looking young. What about the New England cricket captain? Who actually looks about 12.
He does look very young.
I mean,
But I think that might also be
not being rude to the boy.
But it might also be a factor of how, as you get older, you look at people who are actually in their 20s and they look much younger than they really are.
Well, that's true. Do
you know what I mean?
That's true. Now,
what have you found any other anti-MG tweets then?
Yeah.
Well, they seem to be like, you've got dribs and drabs. You've found two so far.
Here we go. David is the one who said, MG reads out every tweet that makes
you've already
look
read
bad.
that one out. That's the same guy.
No, but tweets making fun of MG never see the light of day. That's the official one, okay.
How's it official?
Well, because that comes officially from one of our correspondents, David. Oh, well, he's a listener, obviously.
He's not a correspondent. He's actually a guy that continually sends negative tweets.
Well, in that case, I shouldn't worry about it. Now, there's one here. I'm delighted to say Coco the dog has sent us a picture of himself, and it says, "Justice for Porky." I get excited when Porky comes on. He's my favourite, says Coco the dog. And then Nick here sends a picture of this young lady who's intending to marry Charles Bronson, the notorious criminal.
Yes.
And he says, this is Nick, he says, never mind Periscope, Porky. Why don't you go and broadcast live from Pentonville? Might be your only chance to find yourself a wife. Ha, ha, ha.
That's a bit harsh.
Somebody,
and they have actually put a picture of the said woman on there, haven't they?
That's
She's
right.
wearing a very short red dress.
Yeah, but she shouldn't, because she hasn't got the figure for it. And I don't.
You're saying she should cover up?
Well, I don't wish to be rude, but I mean, you have to be aware of these things, that's all. Now, I've found an extraordinary piece of information, and I have to share this with our millions of listeners, right? Remember the other night we were talking about house builders, and we mentioned in particular Mr. Steve Morgan.
Yeah, was this from Red Row or somewhere?
Red Row. He's from Red Row, okay? Right. And I said that he'd made a considerable fortune in house building. He's clearly a very clever man and a top businessman.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that he has just given away £204 million to charity?
Has he?
On block.
What, just in one fell swoop?
He's set up a charitable donation.
Well, good for him.
And he's put into it The founder and chairman of British house builder Redrow was given shares worth more than £200 million to a charity that he set up. Steve Morgan, 64, gave 42 million shares to the Morgan Foundation, a charity created in 2001 to help children, the elderly and the disabled. Incredible.
That is incredible.
Incredible generosity.
And is that of his own sort of wealth, or is it from the company?
No, as he was chairman of the company, and I think it's a private company.
Is it a company donation, I mean?
No, it's his own personal fortune. Last night's closing price of 4.87p, it was worth 204.8. It is thought to be one of the biggest ever charitable donations by a British businessman.
Yeah.
Mr. Morgan had nearly 150 million shares in the firm he set up in 1974, worth around £730 million. OK? The businessman who founded Redrow when he was 21 with a £5,000 loan from his father. Don't you just love success stories like that?
Well, I mean,
I love success stories like that.
No, I mean, I'm sure the guy's done very well.
You know what he
I'm
did?
very happy for him.
He literally found a plot of land, built one house himself, like with bricks and things, you know what I mean? And then flogged it and then used the profits to buy a plot of land where he built two houses and he built himself with bricks and all that and then flogged them. I mean, fantastic story. But it goes on to say he has a track record of philanthropy.
Yes.
He has donated more than £35 million already to the charity since its inception and has given money to a number of charities in the North West and Liverpool, where he grew up. Mr. Morgan is estimated to be worth £880 million, awarded a CBE in 2016 for philanthropic services. He is a lifelong Liverpool football fan, but served as chairman of Wolverhampton Wanderers. The father of five lives in Cheshire.
Hang on, if he's a lifelong Liverpool fan, why did he serve as chairman of Bolton?
Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton Wanderers,
sorry.
Well,
why?
I think the story is, and somebody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, he wanted to buy Liverpool Football Club when they were up for sale, when David Moores, who was the...
was this before the Gillette crowd came in?
It was before the first American investors,
Gillette,
Yeah, David Moores...
I always want to call him Penn and Gillette, but obviously...
Yeah, that's right.
David
Moores was urged, really, to sell because the powers that be at Liverpool thought that... his family association was holding the club back.
Right.
So they sold. And I understand Mr. Morgan wanted to, but he didn't, he wasn't able to outbid the Americans because they came with like corporate money from America.
But that still seems a bit odd to then go and become chairman of another club.
Not really.
Well, you've always said you couldn't have another club.
Well, I personally couldn't, but then I think you can detach yourself if you buy it and it's your club. And Wolverhampton Wanderers, and you appoint a chief executive to run it, that's fine. You're then involved in a football club. You can still be a Liverpool fan.
It just seems a bit odd to me.
Well, I mean, if I was wealthy enough and I was an a top Everton fan like Mr. Morgan is Liverpool, I could go buy Chester and run them as a sort of hobby. Yeah, I think so.
Are you saying that Wolverhampton to Liverpool are the same as Chester to Everton?
No, I'm not. But
that's
I mean,
a bit insulting to Wolverhampton.
It is a bit insulting. Well, I don't
They're
mean
still
it like
in the
that.
FA Cup, you know.
Yeah, no, still in the FA Cup. Yeah, but no. What I'm saying is, I think he had the urge to want to, participate. Yeah, that's right, participate.
Yeah.
And maybe even he thought to himself, one of these days I will get Liverpool, and it'll be good practice to,
maybe he was
get
using
myself...
the same model that he built. Start with one house and then end up with the big hotel.
Well, you can't own two football clubs in this country, but
I
mean,
know that.
He could well have taken on Wolverhampton Wanderers in the belief that would allow him to learn how to run a football club if he ever got his hands on Liverpool.
Absolutely
I bet he
right.
still probably has ambitions.
Maybe he
to
has
own
a
Liverpool.
big shareholding. I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
I don't
Simon
know.
says this. He sent a picture of your mate Tom Hardy playing Charles Bronson in a film.
Yeah, I saw
some
that.
years ago.
Is Tom Hardy the little fella?
No. Tom Hardy's the guy that you love from Peaky
right,
Blinders,
of course, yeah,
and
yeah.
also from the
In
Rogerization special Taboo.
Taboo, yes, that's right.
I don't know if
yeah.
that's going to figure in the Porkyvision scenario coming
Taboo,
up, but we
or
are
not
going to be
Taboo.
we are going to be filming it live on Periscope. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Now, one of the things that we must do, which we have not yet done, is to work out what the Porky quiz is this week.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Somebody sent me an idea.
Yes.
They wanted you to be quizzed on the Six Nations.
No, sorry.
Don't fancy that?
Well, what I prefer to do is to be honest and
Really?
and forthright. And
Well,
since
just like last week when you were cheating.
No, since my days of being the TalkSport rugby correspondent, going back to 2007, I have had so much other work to do that my edge towards my knowledge of rugby.
Are you saying it's not on your radar?
It's not on my radar. It's been blunted. It's been blunted a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So I feel that I would not be doing myself any favours. I would not be doing my fans and my followers any favours.
Right.
And I certainly wouldn't be doing the quiz any favours because I'd get massacred.
The other suggestion was the FA Cup, but we've done the FA Cup. I think the last time we did a round of FA Cup stuff coming up. So what have you got then in terms of suggestions?
Have you seen this very weird story about Marilyn Monroe, which is knocking around tonight? Was she pregnant when she died?
There's a picture on the front page of the Daily Mail.
Oh, why is that then?
Which would suggest she has a baby bump in 1960.
Yes.
But for some bizarre reason, they've done a massive story on it.
Yeah.
Saying it's from the Mail Foreign Service, and it says, well, I suppose the allegation is that she was apparently pregnant by a secret lover, and then they can speculate about who that secret lover might have been. Yeah. You know, i.e., was it JFK?
That's right. Or was it Robert Kennedy?
No, or was it Robert? Or was it Yves Montand?
Yes.
The French actor, or was it possibly somebody from the mafia?
Yeah.
Jimmy Hoffa's crowd. And all that. I mean,
who knows?
It's all kind of weird because I mean, we talk about Marilyn Monroe once in a while.
Yes.
But there's an awful lot of people who are alive.
That's
who
right.
Have no idea who she is.
That's right. So it's not worth doing a quiz on Marilyn Monroe.
I've got a feeling
really.
we did a quiz on Marilyn Monroe.
I don't think we have.
Because I remember asking a question about Arthur Miller.
I think we have. Yeah, you're right.
And
about the number of husbands she's had and all
That's
that
right.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, fear not, because we will come up with a perfect, and I can assure you, a perfect subject before the end of this evening's proceedings, okay?
Right. Okay, well, as long as you're on the case.
Oh, I'm on the case.
We can certainly sort that out.
Yeah.
Now, it's an amazing story that I thought I should draw your attention to earlier on.
Oh, yes.
Do you know how old Donald Trump's talking about building a wall in Mexico?
Of course.
To ensure that basically nobody can
By the way, I
pass.
didn't realise that bits of it are already there.
Well, the point
you know
is,
that, don't you? You know, there's like miles and miles of it in certain
there's miles
parts.
and miles of fencing.
That's right, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And many people, in fact, Piers Morgan is included when he argues about, what is all this outrage about Donald Trump building a wall.
Yes.
He says, well, presumably all these, wet liberals are all upset about the fence, which is already there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because there's already something which keeps them out. It's a barrier.
Yeah.
And they can't get in. But that's what they found on the Mexican border with the United States of America.
Well, they found.
Do you remember those when you watch those old historical films? Where there's the one set of guys are in the castle,
yes,
and another lot are outside the castle trying to get in,
and the guys inside the castle are pouring boiling oil on the guys outside. Yeah,
but what the guys outside have got are these massive catapults.
Yeah, they're called trebuchets.
Trebuchets,
yeah, it's a trebuchet. Okay. Yeah.
Well, they found one of these things.
Oh, a trebuchet
on the opposite side of the border, right?
Oh, right.
One of these fences, and they've been using it, the Mexicans, to lob drugs over.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
So they've got this massive catapult, right?
Yes.
And they believe that literally millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of drugs have been launched over there for months and months and months because they've only just found it.
Yeah, do you know what else they will have?
They found it just outside of the border, southeast of Tucson.
Oh, you wouldn't surprise me at all. And they will also, of course, as well as hurling drugs over the border, they'll hurl people over the border.
I don't know if you can hurl people.
Yeah, of course you can.
Without hurting someone.
Of course you can.
Right.
The old trebuchet from the medieval days, what they used to put in it was literally a boiling cannonball, okay, like a huge one, about the size of a snowman, you know what I mean?
A snowman?
Yeah, you know, like you roll a snowman.
The size of a snowman.
Well, you know when you roll up, when a kid makes a snowman, you roll the ball up to the size.
Yeah, well, but what, life size?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that size. So they had one of those made of, and it's made of like double, wattle and daub.
Oh yes,
wattle and daub.
Well,
okay,
they used to make houses with.
That's right. That's exactly that. They'd roll all that up and get the twigs out of the forest and all that kind of stuff, okay?
Right.
Then they'd lace it with oil and animal fat. Then they'd set fire to it, right?
Yeah.
And then they would hurl it into the inside compound of the castle, the courtyard. What was it called? The keep. They'd hurl it into the keep,
yes.
Yeah? Okay. And then that would set fire to the castle. It was a very effective weapon.
Right. Well, funny enough, at the start of Gladiator, which you've still yet to see, right?
Yes, that's
would
right.
you like me to? Because I've got a copy of it. If you want to see it.
That's a good idea.
The trouble is, if I give it to you, you may not give it back.
No, I won't give you back because
well, then I'm not giving it to you.
Form part of my collection. No, I'm only joking. No, if you lend it to me, I will.
No, you won't. But I mean, at the beginning of that, they're fighting in what's called Germania.
Yes,
and it's the Romans against the heathens. Right?
I see.
And
yes,
they fire a load of. What they do is they put a sort of a flame in front of all the people with bows and arrows.
Right.
And they light the end of their bow and fire it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and it sets fire to everything. But according to this, they found a group of men ran off when they found this device, right?
Yeah.
Which was attached to the fence. They found 2 bundles of cannabis,
Yeah,
weighing a total of 21 kilograms.
Yeah, that's not a lot, is it?
No, but it's a lot if you're doing it.
21 kilograms.
Well, I don't know how much do you pay for it.
Eh?
How much do you pay for it?
For what?
For cannabis.
I don't know. I've never bought it.
Really?
No.
Okay. Well,
No.
you said it's not very much.
No, I
As if
mean
you
in
were
weight.
kind of, you know.
In weight, sometimes.
21 kilos of drugs is a lot of drugs.
Well, yeah, but you know that find on the beach in Norfolk recently?
Yeah.
That was worth about 50 million quid.
Yeah, but that was probably about 20 kilos of cocaine or something.
Yeah, it was, yeah, something like that, yeah. But no, it was much more than 20 kilos. I mean,
Really?
it was 200 kilos.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
like that.
Anyway, there's an awful lot of it. But if they're chucking it over sort of on a regular basis,
Yes.
I mean, you do it in smaller amounts. Nobody notices, right?
Yes,
And apparently
yes.
in September, they found a modified van on the opposite side of the
Right.
of the border,
Yeah.
which was equipped with an air-powered cannon,
Yeah.
right, designed to shoot drugs packages over the border.
Oh, I can believe it.
And it was like a homemade bazooka.
Yeah, and the other thing they'll do, by
They're
the
also
way...
finding tunnels.
Well, I was going to say, the other thing they'll do is they will start building tunnels under any wall because...
Well, there's one there. Look, they found
Yeah.
this one, which has got lighting, it's got ventilation.
That's right, yeah.
And it's got 2 railway tracks, so they put it all in a sort of railway wagon.
Well, that's
and
how...
just push it through.
That's how a lot of the sort of Israel West Bank Lebanon situation and Gaza and all that exists on these tunnels in which they transport people, contraband, goods, animals, everything
Well,
goes
do you
through
remember there was a
tunnels.
story that the PLO had smuggled in a lion
That's right.
somehow. I don't
That's
know why
right,
they
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
a lion.
Yeah,
but
through
they
a
brought
tunnel,
But they
yeah.
brought a lion in.
That's right. I do.
Absolutely extraordinary.
I do. Now listen, you know when you're out on the road,
When I'm out on the road.
on the pavements and all that.
What, you mean walking?
Yeah, how much notice do you take of the red and green summons lights at zebra crossings?
What do you mean, the pedestrian ones?
Yes.
None.
Exactly.
None at all.
Exactly. And neither do I.
Yeah.
Now, in America...
I walk in such a way that I try to never stop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with
I
you.
don't like to get to a traffic light and have to stop.
No, I totally agree with
so
you.
what I try and do is sort of meander
Keep
my
going,
way,
yeah.
so that I can either cross at various different points, not always at crossings.
Yeah, but sometimes you do have to stop because there's no other way of getting
Sometimes.
across the road or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, the point, because in America you can be done for jaywalking, can't you, for that?
A guy in Dallas once stopped me as I was halfway across the road.
Yeah,
and,
I've had that.
And sent me back.
Yeah, I've had that.
And because I said to him, I said, well, I'm halfway across now. I said, what do you want me to do, go back?
Yeah.
He says, yes, sir, you go back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know.
So he made me go back.
But anyway, listen, I've been reading some of my medical journals, particularly the Royal Society Open Science Journal, and it shows that men are twice as likely as women to cross a road when they shouldn't, when the light is red, and that it becomes a challenge to get to the other side when the light is red. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas women are...
They're more likely to go with the sort of regulations. is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Although I'll tell you what, in the most recent times, I would say the last few years, while my smaller kids were growing up,
Yes.
I did have to teach them,
Of course you do, the Green Cross Code.
road safety. So I couldn't run out in front of.
Remember the big
cars.
guy who was Darth Vader?
Yeah, that's
he
right.
did the Green Cross Code.
He did.
Yeah.
He did,
Dave?
He was Dave. Yeah, he was Dave.
Yeah.
I can't remember his last name. He was
Dave?
Dave.
Is that you, Dave?
Dave. He
Yeah.
was the body of Darth Vader, but not the voice, right?
That's right. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Now it says here this all comes from an ancient. It's like caveman stuff, you know. Men will, men are
Challenge authority.
Yeah, well,
Hunter-gatherers.
Hunter-gatherers. So the cavalier approach to road safety as a way of signalling sexual status.
Oh, yeah?
That a man
thought of that.
is more sexually active than a woman. Women tended to wait for the green man because they are more conformist. Pedestrians in different countries have very different attitudes to crossing the road. The French are 19 times less likely to wait for the lights to change than, for instance, their Japanese counterparts. Now,
Is that right?
this makes absolute sense.
It does.
The French rail against
all
authority.
the Germans, I would imagine.
Yeah, the French rail against authority.
Yeah.
In fact, the French rail against everything.
Yeah.
And the great irony of my lifetime, one of the great ironies, is the French set up the European Union and issued loads of rules, but don't obey any of them.
No, of course not.
They don't obey any of them.
When the smoking ban was brought in France,
Yeah, they just ignored it.
They just ignored it.
Ignored
and
it.
I've ignored it for years.
Kept going into their bars with the, what's that?
The Gitane.
Yeah, with
the
Gitane.
Gaulois.
The Gitane. What's that filthy orange stuff they drink?
Orange, no, Pernod they drink.
No,
Pernod,
there's an orange one. Pernod, I know. Is it?
Asti.
Asti, is
Asti.
it? Yeah, Dorrington. They sit
Ricard.
And you're absolutely right. They smoke a packet of Gitan, and they drink the Ricard and the Asti.
And the multi nefarious affairs.
Nefarious affairs. And, we give me a patisserie, and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's what the French do.
A croissant, even.
A croissant, yeah. They ignore all the rules. Whereas, of course, in Japan, people have been so brainwashed since the sort of rebirth of the Japanese economy post-Second World War, that not only do they obey everything the company tells them to do, they obey everything the government tells them to do.
Yeah.
And so hardly anybody in Japan has ever walked across a zebra crossing when the light has been red, because it is against all the teachings and learnings.
Yes. And probably it would be considered rude. Because
yes, that's right.
They're quite big on politeness, aren't they?
Yes, that's right.
They're quite big on making sure that you actually, are polite in society.
That's right.
A lot of bowing and scraping and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. 41.9% of the crossings in France, like individual people, were illegal.
Really?
So 40% of people who go across crossings in France do it illegally.
Right.
In Japan, guess what the figure is? It's 2.1%.
Wow.
That tells you something about those nations, doesn't it?
I bet they're real pariahs. I tell you what, I'd rather live in France than Japan on that basis.
Yeah, but also that's why Japan is a very efficient economy, because they obey all the rules.
Their economy is in desperate straits.
Well, yeah, but they've been very efficient since the Second World War. Why do you think everything you bought in the 60s, 70s and 80s was made in Japan?
Yeah.
It's all made in China now, but it used to be made in Japan.
Yeah, but they're not in good shape at the moment.
Well, your telly was made in Japan. Your motorbike
not anymore.
was made in Japan.
Not
Cars
anymore.
made in
Not
Japan.
anymore.
I was going to say it's changed to China.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, France has been falling to bits for the last 40 years.
Yeah, but it's been falling to bits in a very, very relaxing way.
They have very high taxes, and I don't know what they do with them. And
they're rioting again in Paris, by the way.
Lots of riots in Paris most of the time.
You've seen the time, by the way.
The Gare du Nord apparently is now so tatty.
The riots are going on near the Gare du Nord.
That's right. That's the French railway station where the old shuttle goes in.
The Eurostar.
Right? I've used it many, many times over the years. It's now so tatty that even the French government are saying it's an utter disgrace that this is the gateway to France. Yes.
Well, there we are.
Yes.
Now, coming up next,
disgraceful.
Gateway to Australia, we're going to be talking to Sandra Lee. This is TalkSport.
Okay.
Never read out anything which is negative, right?
Yes.
How about this from Gerard? Yeah. He says, having just studied your profile pictures, I've got to say, Porky looks the more suave.
Thank you.
But MG looks as slippery as Porky sounds.
Yes.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's very helpful indeed. Yeah, I'm not slippery, but you are.
No, not true. However, one person who is very much so a suave and very honest woman is Sandra Lee, our favourite Australian. Sandra, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't embarrass you by asking you which of us is the more reliable and friendly person, because obviously that would put some people here in a bad light, which I wouldn't want to do. So instead, I thought I'd ask you how you're bearing up in the massive heat wave, which apparently is killing lots of things, including a load of bats.
It is. We have been having an absolute scorcher down under. We've had one of the a run of hot weather that has been unprecedented. And in fact, one of our outback towns has had 43 days of temperature over 40 degrees in Celsius. So that is absolutely brutal. You wouldn't want to be out there.
Porky, you would hate that, wouldn't you?
I would absolutely hate it. I can't stand that sort of temperature. I mean, how do people survive in those sort of conditions, Sandra? They must have been brought up in it, because if you took a normal person, from Somerset in England or something like that, and put
there
them
aren't
in.
Any normal people in Somerset.
No, there aren't actually. That's quite true. And put them in a town like that for 7 days, they could die, because your body has to get used to that sort of intense heat, doesn't it, over a period of years?
Yeah, they absolutely could. They'd probably melt. But the farmers that I know who are out in those areas, what they do is they get out of bed at 3 a.m. in the morning, and or even earlier, and they do all of their farming before 11 a.m. And then they just go inside and they sort of stay in the cool. They do not go outside, and they make sure all the animals, all the farm animals, are under trees and have plenty of water. It is absolutely brutal.
And apparently it's getting worse now. We talk about climate change all the time in this country. People are obsessed with it. But I've actually got the figures here. It says the independently funded Climate Council Australia issued a report this week that said the country's heat waves were becoming hotter, longer and more frequent because of climate change, and that actually Sydney's heat waves now start 19 days earlier in summer compared with 50 years ago. Does that mean that Australian society is having to change quite dramatically to cope with all this.
No, we're pretty tough. We just get on with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but eventually you're going to run out of
the new frontier, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're going to run out of electricity and you're going to run out of water, aren't you? I can never work out where Australia gets its water from.
Well, we get it from the sky, and
really?
We've had plenty
Same
of
place
rain.
everybody else gets it.
Yeah, but it doesn't rain very often, does it? Eh?
Well, we've had loads of rain lately, and in fact, when we had a previous Labor government not long ago that's now gone to sort of political heavens or hell, depending on your point of view, they instructed a new government body to talk about climate change, and the man that they put in charge with it said that there would be no more rains and that our major dams in all of the major cities around Australia would be emptied and never filled again by about 2010.
Right.
Well, of course, about 3 years ago, most of the ones on the eastern seaboard were all spilling over, and they were having absolute prescriptive spill days when they'd have to let out the water because it was just coming. You know, it rained. When the rains come, and if you've got the dams and if you've got the supply centres to store the water, you're not going to have any problems. But the problem is if we don't make dams, we don't build dams, there's nowhere to store it, and then there will be a problem.
Yeah, of course there would be.
Mind you, that dam in America's been a bizarre story, hasn't it, over the last few days? It seems as though they've sorted it now, but they've had so much rain that the way that they'd kind of made plans to alleviate any flooding problems actually made it worse.
Not only to make it worse, 250,000 people drove out of town overnight because they thought it was going to burst, but it didn't. Now, Sandra, I've come across another very disturbing story, which I want you to tell me about, please. And this is a couple of really despicable individuals who seem to have been arrested for kicking around a little animal, which I've never heard of, called a quokka.
Quokka?
A quokka.
A quokka.
A quokka.
Yeah.
A quokka is like it's a version of a possum type of animal, a little squirrely type thing.
Yeah. Is it? I'm told it might be of the wallaby family.
I think you're right.
Well, it's a marsupial.
A marsupial?
Is it?
Yes.
Is it
I don't know what a marsupial is.
Okay, now...
I mean, it's got a pouch.
Now
to carry its young.
A marsupial has a pouch, exactly.
Right, okay. Thank you very much indeed
I'm just
for that
helping you
useless
out,
piece of
because
information.
you look completely befuddled when I said marsupial.
No, I've travelled extensively in Australia. I've never come across the quokka. What's your problem?
Quokka.
It's a quokka.
All right, the quokka then. All right, the quokka.
Well, why, they don't hang around in the bars of the Marriott Hotel. That's why you haven't seen one.
No, everybody knows about the koala bear, right? Eating all its eucalyptus or whatever it eats,
Yeah.
And getting stoned.
Yeah.
And you know it's not a bear, don't you?
Eh?
You know it's not a bear, don't you?
Well, I know it's not a bear.
It's also a marsupial.
The point is, I've got a report here from Amanda Swift, RSPCA inspector, horrified. This incident can only be described as a disgusting and shameful act of animal cruelty. Outrage that somebody could do this to a gentle and defenceless animal.
Hang on, what's happening to them?
Well, they've been booting them around. And the men are due to appear in Fremantle Magistrates Court next month. I hope this is not a sort of yobbos-type drunken game in Australia, is it, Sandra?
No, it's not, and I'm absolutely with you, Mike. They should be. It shows the full extent of the law because it's just cruel. It's unfair. It's rotten and it's cruel, and it's time that we stopped it.
Yeah. For instance, does anybody ever say, the quokka's just a rat, really? It's just vermin and all that kind of stuff? Because that's often That sounds
like what you would say.
No, I would not. No. I'm on the quokka's side, because that's often what people say about things like squirrels in our country. You haven't got any squirrels in Australia, have you?
No, we don't have squirrels. No, we don't. And
I wonder why that is.
They can't swim.
That'd be ridiculous, you idiot. But because
that's why they can't get there.
Well, what do you mean?
What do you think, they're going to get a plane?
No, you idiot. But
Airlines.
I thought squirrels. You get squirrels in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so why didn't you get them in Australia?
Well, because they can't swim. I've told you.
You fool. Do you think they swam to America?
Why do you think there's no Tasmanian devils in Torquay?
What?
Tasmanian devils.
What about them?
They're not in Torquay. They can't swim either.
No. Well, all right. How did the squirrels get to America?
They were made there. They've been there all the time.
Right, well, why didn't Australia make a few squirrels? That's all I'm asking.
They didn't have any.
No, well, they should have them. Anyway, needless to say, Sandra, we're all very upset about the quokka here. And
hang on, I've got something that you'll be more upset
Yeah,
by.
hang on. We want you to keep us posted, please, on the fate of these cruel individuals.
Well,
yes,
I mean, maybe they should get
I will indeed. And also the quokka, the Tasmanian devil that you just mentioned is also a marsupial.
Yes, indeed.
Is it?
I mean, that's the funny thing.
Seems to be a lot of marsupials knocking around in Australia. What are they good for?
Well, that's one of the reasons why Australia is so unique, because they have more marsupials than anybody else.
Well, like kangaroos.
Yeah, well, I was just going to get to
kangaroos.
kangaroos.
Yeah,
maybe the quokkas should get some kangaroo minders, so that if anybody turns up, the kangaroos give them a good kicking.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. They seem to have gone mad, the kangaroos. Could it be the heat that's driving the kangaroos mad?
I was going to ask if there's been any more kangaroo incidents.
No, there haven't been any more kangaroo incidents. I've been keeping an eye out, so I could let you know, but there've been none. And also, too, we've been quiet on the shark front, which is a good thing, and the spider on the dunny seat front as well.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
well, there is one thing that I wanted to raise with you, though, because apparently I read a piece the other day that one of the world's most deadly gangs has infiltrated Australia as part of a plot to infect it with more drugs than they can handle. And it's a gang called the Mara Salvatrucha. I don't know if you've heard of these guys, but apparently they emanate from El Salvador. And they set themselves up as the biggest drug gang in Los Angeles, right? Called MS-13.
Yeah.
And they're all tattooed completely. Their faces are tattooed, their arms are tattooed, and they're the most awful, horrible, ghastly, violent gang known to anyone in the world, apparently.
What have they gone to Australia for?
Well, they've gone to spread their sort of business, basically.
I see.
They're now in Mexico, they're in Canada, they're in the USA, and apparently they're coming to Australia. Have you heard about this one, Sandra?
Yes, I have. In fact, they've been around here. Well, I'm not sure if it's them exactly or the gangs are really here, but some people purporting to be them have been around along the eastern seaboard, along Bondi, in fact, since 2015, where they've been scrawling up their signature graffiti, which is MS-13.
Yeah.
And police are worried about it because Australia is in the sort of the midst of a great big drug problem at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what they're fearing, is that they're trying to spread their version of drug running, their drug cartel down under, because there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah, right. Can't they lock them up in these detention centres if they're coming from countries outside of the US or outside of Australia? Or is that? I mean, I see that there are some in the sort of global legal place where all these things are decided, the War Crimes Commission and all that. That it may be time to haul the Australians in front of the International Criminal Court for locking so many immigrants up.
Yes. Well, there's been a push on that since sometime through last year. One of the independent politicians down here decided to sort of, dob his own country into the International Criminal Court, but it seems to be a bit of a stunt. Most of the people who've been in detention are now out of detention, and since the current government, the coalition government, got back in, which was in 2013, we've had very few illegal boat arrivals, which is where they were all coming from. And the ones who were arriving on the boat were the ones who were sent to the offshore processing detention centres.
Well, you keep all that under control, please, Sandra. Now, Sandra, I'm going to give you a...
Save your time, by the way.
Yeah, don't worry about the time. A progress report on the two Mikes visiting Australia. You very kindly helped us with some contacts at the Sydney Opera House, and we've been in touch with the Sydney Opera House, and the position is that there is a hall there that we could perhaps use. But what I didn't quite understand is that October and November, when we were hoping to come, is absolutely jam-packed. The place is literally booked out for, 3 months, because that's the height of your season. And we're going to have to come in June, but we can't get our act together this June. So it looks like the two Mikes will land in Australia June 2018.
Hey, that'll be fantastic. I'll be happy to be your hostess with the mostess.
It'd be absolutely fantastic. Our mentor and our guide.
Yeah.
So
bring out the marsupials.
Bring out the marsupials, that's right. Thank you very much indeed for steering us in that direction. And let's hope it's not, 42.8 degrees centigrade when we hit the tarmac.
Actually might expire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be a shame, wouldn't it? Sandra, thank you very much
It won't
indeed.
be. It'll be the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Good.
Fantastic stuff. Sandra Lee there reporting in from Australia with a whole bunch of interesting stories.
Absolutely.
Said.
Yeah.
We may be going down there next year, but there's maybe other places we're going as well. This is TalkSport.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to do Porkyvision. We're going to do it live on Periscope, of course. This is from Richard. He says, what happened to the quokka that escaped to the mainland? I don't know what he means by the mainland.
I don't know what he means by the mainland.
I mean,
is this Tasmania, is it?
It's to all intents and purposes. Well, no, the quokka apparently is not in Tasmania, is it? When you tell me, you were the one that introduced the quokka into the show.
Let me find out. I told you I was going to a hotel. Rottnest Island, 11 miles off Western Australia.
Uh-huh.
So that's what he means by to the mainland. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So perhaps there are only quokkas on that particular part.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, this was a terrible attack. This hooligan aimed a kick at the little quokka, missed, chased it around a tree, then caught up with it and kicks it into a wall.
Yeah.
The animal tries to flee and the man gives chase. Laughter can be heard in the background. Police said that two men aged 21 and 20 were held as they left the island. The men were leaving the island when police located them. The quokka has not been located, and it doesn't know whether it's injured or not. So the search is on for the injured quokka.
The injured quokka, which neither of us had heard of until it was tonight.
Exactly.
Now,
until I discovered
you've done it again, right? You've done it again. June 2018, locked in my diary, says Becky in New Zealand, for a hop across the ditch, a trip to Sydney, and radio's best duo.
Yes.
We don't know for sure we're going to be there in June.
Well, I'm a man of, determination.
Well, I know you're a man of determination.
I'm a man who gets things done.
Well, you quite often don't get things done.
I do get things done.
And the problem is that's why people now think we're having a party on Saturday, which we're not.
No, we're not.
People think we're going to go to Australia next June, which we might be, but
Listen,
we're not necessarily.
We're having a bit of a party on Saturday. Let's get this straight.
We're launching our website. We're not having a party. A party is something you invite people to where they come as guests.
Right. All I can tell you is this. We are launching our new website on Saturday.
Yeah.
It is at a specific location.
We can give that away, I think, at this point, can't we?
It is the Sports Bar and Grill in Canary Wharf in London.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where Canary Wharf is. The Sports Bar and Grill is the biggest sports bar there.
It's easy to find.
We are doing a bit of filming to launch the website. If anybody's around and wants to come and say hello, you are very welcome indeed. It'd be good to see you.
Yes,
Simple
exactly.
as that.
Exactly, but it's not a party, is it?
Well, in a sense that whenever you meet people, it's a happy occasion. It's a party atmosphere,
Really?
that's all, yeah.
It's not always a happy occasion when you meet people.
Sorry?
It's not always a happy occasion when you meet people.
Well, it's not always.
I've met some people who don't like you very much.
I've met some people, and you will have met some people who don't like you very much.
Exactly, so it's not always a happy occasion.
No, well, it is if it's a positive sort of, atmosphere in which you're working. Simple as that. You're too negative sometimes.
No, see,
that's your problem.
Porky says this. If you put a normal person in Australia, is Porky insinuating Australians are not normal?
Yes, they are normal. I'm saying if you put a person from Somerset into Australia, they would struggle to cope because it's...
Well, you might as well say if you put one into Sudan, where it's also very hot.
Yeah, I agree.
They might struggle to cope.
I agree.
Jay says, Porky, ever the current affairs master, is that the best you can talk about squirrels? Hashtag plank.
Well, they're not squirrels. Oh, I see what you mean.
Well,
yeah,
they were.
Yeah, I can't remember whether I ever saw a squirrel in Australia. That's why I raised it with Sandra. But I do find it odd that there are no squirrels in Australia because, with it being...
Well, why would you find it odd that there are no, say, kangaroos anywhere else, though?
Well, only that for that very reason, really. The reason that Australia's got kangaroos is it's a huge, wide open space in which wildlife flourishes and thrives. And so I'd have thought, like every little sort of furry animal that runs around in the world anywhere would eventually end up in Australia, particularly squirrels.
Well, Mark says this, tell Porky I'm Irish and being here 11 years, I love the heat, your body just adjusts to it.
Yeah.
And Joe has sent a picture from Hobart, which is right now, where there is a ship called the Golden Princess.
Oh.
Cruise ship sitting in the harbour there.
Where's that, Hobart?
Hobart,
Looks great. Yeah.
Looks very, but it's too hot for you.
Eh?
It's too hot
for you. Oh,
it'll
be far too hot for me, yeah.
Guardi says, we have aircon, Porky, you plank, aircon in the house, to aircon in the car, to aircon in the office. I mean, you have to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, but let me just tell you this. That's a very expensive business, aircon. I once stayed with a friend in New York, and I said... she was out working all day, and I was just lounging around in her place. Yeah,
was this the New York Welcoming
Committee? It certainly was. Yeah. And I said, look, I'll pay for the air conditioner. It's so expensive, and I couldn't believe it. The bill for like a couple of weeks was $500.
Yeah. But it's unbearably hot in New York in the summer.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it's true that you can say, well, it couldn't be, well, it must be worse if it's 42, 43 degrees in Australia.
Yes.
But I mean, in parts of August in Manhattan, because of all the air conditioning units, it actually feels hotter.
Yeah.
They're all,
sure.
When you're out on the street, I mean, I remember when I was there. If you were actually working and having to go out, you'd have to change your shirt and your suit about 3 times a day.
Oh, definitely. What people don't understand is that those huge buildings, and it's the same in any location that's got skyscrapers and heat. like Dubai.
Yeah.
By the way, that picture that you showed me earlier of a young girl hanging over the edge.
Giving you the heebie-jeebies?
Well, I've seen pictures of it from the top.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I get vertigo just looking at the picture. This young girl is literally hanging by a handshake to a chap who's standing on the roof.
She's holding onto his wrist. He's holding her wrist.
Yeah. Honestly, it gave me vertigo looking at it. Anyway, what I was going to say was, what happens in the summer in New York and all places like this is those buildings were built a long time ago, some of them. I mean, 100 years ago, the Empire State Building and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And there were no sort of building materials in those days which were specifically designed to reflect the heat like there are now.
No.
So they actually soak up the midday sun and the daytime sun into the bricks. And at night, when the sun goes down, they're like thermos blocks. They throw the heat back out at you.
Sure.
And then you're walking past, you are literally walking past a huge block of thermal which is throwing heat at you.
Well, you can never forget walking out into the summer nights.
Oh,
in Manhattan,
absolutely.
Where it's so hot. And then suddenly the rain
in
would
seconds,
come.
your shirt will go wet, literally,
Well, suddenly then it would start raining.
That's
and
right.
That incredibly hot sort of rain would come down. It was always wonderful.
Kentucky rain keeps falling down.
No, it wasn't Kentucky rain. It was
Kentucky
rain
keeps falling down.
And then the streets also in that time were full of all sorts of horrendous things. Would you stop singing?
Yeah, well, I love the Kentucky rain songs. Great, Elvis.
You ever been to Kentucky?
Yes.
You went to the Kentucky Derby?
I went to Louisville, actually, which is Muhammad Ali's
home of Muhammad
birthplace.
Ali.
And I went to Kentucky. I went to Lexington because somebody was over there trying to buy the Queen a horse to win the Derby in England. I cottoned onto that.
Yeah.
I tell you, I beat on that story Paul Connew.
Did you?
The mirror guy. Because he was yum, 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 yum. That's what he used to yum, 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 yum.
Still around, Paul. Maybe listening.
Yeah, he may well be. I hope you are, Paul.
He's in PR now, I think, isn't he?
I think he is, I think he's children's charities and all that. Does a good job. And he turned up there as well, and he was asking me what I was doing, asking me what he was doing. But in fact, I had the lead story, and that was that the Queen had sent over some bloodstock guys because one of the classic races.
True?
Yeah, it was true. Yeah,
right,
one of the classic races she's never won was the Derby, and she was looking for a Derby winner. And
she's won it now, of course, hasn't she?
Has she?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it caused a sensation. Of course, when my story dropped in Fleet Street, this fantastic revelation announcement. Then, of course, everybody else was running for cover, weren't they? As usual.
What year was that?
84, 85, something like that.
Maybe before my time then.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I didn't get a call.
No, exactly.
Scottish Bull says, how about a quiz on capital cities of the world? Porky's a man of the world after all, or is that too easy for Herr Parry?
It would be too easy. And also, somebody, for some unknown reason, sent me a note saying Costa Rica's not in South America.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
I can't remember when I said it was.
Well, I think you said that to Tim Vickery at one stage.
Did I?
Yeah, I think so. So you've got to remember, some people listen to our podcast a few behind,
Yes.
Here's one from Hassett, who says, Porky is definitely the only man I've ever heard who uses measurements such as the size of a snowman and bird baths.
Well, I mean, that's because I relate to the ordinary man, the common man and the common view of thinking.
Is that right?
If I'd said that the trebuchet threw
you can't measure something by the size of a snowman.
Yes, you can, because people have got a mental image.
No, they haven't.
If I'd said the trebuchet used to hurl missiles weighing, sort of 400 kilograms, which were 6 feet in circumference.
Well, most people know how many kilograms they weigh, don't they?
Yeah, they don't know.
Well, how many kilograms do you weigh? I can tell you, because in the letter from Dr. Banner, it says 99.
No, 89.
No, it's 99.
No, it's 89.
Don't make me put it out again. It says 99.
It might have been then. It's not now. It's 89.
Have you lost 10 kilos?
What?
Have you lost 20 pounds since then?
Well, my weight goes up and down with the seasons, you see.
All right.
Because of the amount of...
hot air inside you?
No, the amount...
We've got to go anyway.
The amount of flesh.
You're out of time.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about your flesh.
No, neither do I.
This is Talk Sport.
Right, now then, I found a subject for the quiz.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
On this day in 1959,
yes,
Fidel Castro became the leader of Cuba.
Okay.
In Cuba.
So you want to do it on Cuba?
Yeah,
or you want to do it
Cuba.
on Fidel Castro?
Cuba.
Cuba.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, isn't that a great record?
I've got a pen here that doesn't work.
In Cuba.
Cuba, that is a very famous record. We might be able to play it later. That might be part of the quiz, of course.
Who made that record?
Well, that might become part of the quiz.
Oh, I see. Right, okay. Why do you never have a pen that works? I find this offensive in your role. I do.
Well, I've got a pen here, right? I've never used it tonight, and I had no idea that it didn't work.
It's a tatty, cheap plastic biro.
Yeah, but we've had this conversation
with overflowing ink.
I've got £100 worth of pens that I was sent by a very kind listener.
Yeah.
Right, and I have some of them at home. I took some of them down to my kids in Sussex.
I've got my Waterman.
Yeah,
my Waterman with me.
Well, that's fine.
I've
got a pen here.
Excuse me. I've also got my Uniball Vision Elite. Okay.
Uniball Vision Elite.
Yeah, that's my Uniball Vision Elite. That's my roller pen. You see, that's my working pen. Okay.
What about how much that cost then?
Well, this one.
Yeah.
That's about £4.50.
£4.50. Very
nice.
The
Waterman's about £90.
Okay.
And I've got at least 3
that's
of
these.
That's
not the one you left in my place in Sussex, is it?
No, that was a blue one, if you remember.
Yeah, it was.
And,
yeah. Where's that one then?
That one's at home in its case, because that's
case.
a beautiful...
Well, you actually take your pens home and put them in a case?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Oh, really?
That's
How terribly twee.
It's not twee.
Yeah,
it's just looking after your property properly. It's not It's not pathetic. It is not.
It is pathetic.
Just because I've got standards that you haven't got, don't call me pathetic.
It's the thing a Boy Scout would do.
No, it's
put
not.
My pen away in its box.
Well, I'm sorry, but I value the power of communication extremely highly, considering I've been earning a living from it for the last 40 years.
Oh, well done. My communication skills are far superior to yours because we've moved on from pens and paper, actually.
Oh, really? What have we moved on to?
We've moved on to exchanging emails.
Oh, yeah.
We've moved on to taking notes on our phones, making points on our iPads, creating entire newspapers on computers. You know, you don't need a pen anymore.
The power of the pen is still mightier than the power of the sword.
Yeah, it may well be, but the power of the pen has been usurped by the power of the keyboard.
Hey, listen, by the way, talking about these...
It's very warm in here, by the way. Have you turned it up?
No, I haven't, no.
You sure?
Definitely not. Talking about sword, right, now sword of sorts can sometimes be used as a sort of pseudonym for swordsman, you know what I mean?
Pseudo what?
Pseudonym.
Oh, pseudonym, yeah.
For
swordsman. A pseudo-nymph.
No, pseudo...
Well, it's a family show.
Family show, but what I was going to say to you was, it's a very good job, you know, that now we don't overemphasise what sort of transport we use on this show, i.e. black cabs, Uber, all that kind of stuff.
What are you talking about? Why are you always mentioning Uber?
Well, I have to in this because this is a great story.
Okay.
You see, years ago when you sort of treated your marriage vows with complete contempt.
That's not true.
Put it that way, shall we? I'll put it that way to be nice.
I mean, what you know about marriage vows, is even less than you know about most things because you've never taken them. Have you?
We'll put it that way, right? Just to warn you that if that ever happens again...
whatever happens again?
You know, you treat your relationship vows with contempt.
What vows are you talking about?
Well, you know, we won't get into it.
You don't make vows.
We won't get into it. But anyway, this woman picked up her husband's phone, didn't she? And, suspicious that something was going on. And although he'd been clever enough not to include any messages from his mistress and had not made any calls to her, and she hadn't allowed her to make any calls to him, what he had done was he had an Uber app. And so...
Oh, really?
And so the wife...
So she went through the places he'd been?
Absolutely. The wife got onto the Uber app, found... Because apparently the on the app, you detail the exact address you want to go to and all this kind of stuff.
I think that's the point. Yeah, I think you have to put the postcode in.
Yeah, that's right. The postcode. No.
Yeah.
Turns up on the mistress's doorstep and wallops her.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, because... and she was found via the Uber
Presumably,
app.
they discovered that there were many trips to the same location.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also...
Funnily enough, there was a guy in Scotland, in the Scottish Parliament who was done the same way. Not, in fact... by an Uber app, but by just taxi receipts.
Right, yeah.
Because he had to put his taxi receipts in and claim them back.
Exactly.
And suddenly people realised he kept going from the Scottish Parliament to this one particular address.
Yes.
He was the leader of the Conservatives, I think, at one point.
Really?
David somebody's name was.
Yeah.
And he had to front up and he had to resign from his job.
I know.
And his marriage broke up.
It's absolutely shocking, isn't it?
Well, how stupid can you be, though?
Well, I'm not sure that, you can call it stupid or whatever. But anyway, he was found out, and the result, of course, is divorce, which is a very painful thing to go through, as you know, to your cost.
Now, here's a good question. Stephen says this. Since you are Mike Parry 8, which is your Twitter handle, right?
Yes.
Have you ever met Mike Parry's 1 to 7?
No.
Why is it Mike Parry 8, then?
Because Alan Ball was my footballing hero, and the number of his shirt at Everton was 8. And in fact, I've got an Alan Ball shirt, which I wore when I completed the Great Northern Run in tribute to Alan Ball, who sadly, of course, died in tragic circumstances in the garden of his home in Hampshire.
Years ago, right?
Some years ago. Now,
Guardi says, I'm off work sick. Great to listen live in Western Australia. Thanks for reading my aircon tweet, making me feel better already.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much for...
but not so from John in Hobart, who said that he made all his work colleagues listen into the show.
Yeah.
And then you pronounced his name Joe.
Yeah? What's his name?
His name's John.
John.
Yeah.
Okay, John. Sorry, mate. John, Joe. We don't care what you call yourself as long as you feel happy about it.
Well, it's two different names.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
To be fair.
Now, listen, I've got some amazing news here, which I think is great, and it will take civilization forward a bit, even though it looks as though we're going backwards. In Mississippi, they've decided that they want to find another way to kill people legally. You know,
what you mean by execution?
Execution, because there's been so many problems with the lethal injection.
Because it goes wrong, doesn't it?
It can go wrong. It can leave people like brain damage and in comas and all. Well, no, I don't know whether you've read the same story that I did, but I came across in one of my intercontinental journals that in Mississippi, they've now asked for a discussion paper on the possibility of introducing firing squads.
Really? Because do you remember Gary Gilmore?
Yes.
Who was the one, I think, was he the last guy executed by firing squad in Utah?
In Utah. Was he the...
The only reason I remember
was he the Vietnam vet who...
I don't remember enough about him, but I just remember a song called Looking Through Gary Gilmore's Eyes.
That's right,
by the Adverts.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Which was sort of late 70s punky type thing.
What they're talking about is I mean, it sounds like the world's going backwards, but apparently it's going forwards.
It seems very uncivilised to shoot people, doesn't it?
Well, no, I think it's very civilised.
Do you?
Oh,
so you'd be happy to endorse a government that put people up against a post, tied them to it, and had 7 other blokes shooting at them?
Well, if I ever, was sentenced to death, by mistake, because I would never do anything to...
Don't go through Kuala Lumpur.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't never commit a crime that was worthy of the death penalty. I'm too frightened to die, really.
Are you?
Well, actually, I'm not frightened to die.
I thought you only feared poverty.
I only fear poverty or pain. And it's
pain.
Don't want anybody to kill me painfully. You know what I mean? Like whip me to death or something like that.
No, that wouldn't be nice.
That wouldn't be nice.
No.
So
or hang you upside down by your feet. Or something.
No, thank you. So I would happily say, yeah, okay. And do you know what I would do? Because I am actually quite brave.
Yeah.
I'd say don't bother with the blindfold. Okay?
Don't bother with the blindfold.
No, don't bother with the blindfold.
I think the reason they put the blindfold on is not necessarily for the person being shot, but for the people shooting him.
Oh, so they don't have to see the eyes of the man they're killing?
Yeah.
Well, I'd tell them...
Don't look into my eyes.
If they're not real men, they shouldn't be shooting me.
Yeah, would you really want... all right, let me ask you another question. Would you want to be part of the firing squad?
Well, if it was for my duty, for my country and all that, yeah, because remember that in a 7-man firing squad... Yeah. The individual who has the live bullet doesn't know who he is. All the other 6 have...
Why don't you just give them all live bullets?
No, you don't. No, you don't. What happens in a firing squad is, in a civilised society, is 6 men have blank bullets and 1 man has a live bullet.
But what if he misses?
No, they don't miss.
That's a stupid idea.
No, it's not a stupid idea.
They all have live bullets.
No, they don't. They don't. Only 1 man.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
It does. Yeah, of course it does.
Well, what if the one guy that's got the live bullet misses?
Well, he won't miss. He's a trained marksman. That's why. That's why he's.
No,
no.
Guy might move his head at the last minute.
No, they pin a heart across your heart, so you know exactly where to shoot the guy.
They shoot him in the heart.
They shoot him in the heart.
Well, they shoot him in the head.
Well, it's messy.
Is it?
It's messy. When a bullet goes through somebody's head, it takes all its brains out with it, and that is quite messy. The heart is the best because
then there's more danger that you might not kill somebody, isn't there?
No,
a headshot will definitely kill somebody.
If you shoot somebody through the heart with a high velocity bullet, they are dead. Believe me. And so what they're going to do is
Julius Caesar.
Well, just certainly
That's
dead.
a line from The Untouchables.
But the other interesting thing is in Mississippi is that one of the other methods I think they're reintroducing is old Sparky.
Oh, well, they can't do that.
The electric chair.
That's a terrible idea.
Firing squads, the electric chair, or even, how about this?
Yeah.
This is another, sort of going backwards but going forwards.
Oh, yeah.
The reintroduction of the gas chamber.
No.
Yes.
See, that's hideous, that.
It is hideous,
that's
I agree.
Awful. I think they should just do away with the death penalty altogether.
That's where they put a pellet in a bucket of acid or something, don't they? Mm-hmm. And then, oh dear me.
It's not good.
No, it's not good.
Now, here's one to think about from Jez. Can Porky explain why he said Leeds will be promoted to the Premier League and Sheffield Wednesday won't, as they are perpetual bridesmaids? And then he says, further to that, both Leeds United and perpetual bridesmaid Sheffield Wednesday, according to Porky, have won one major trophy in the last 43 years.
Who have?
That can't be right, can it?
Who?
Leeds United and Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, Leeds United won
in 43 years.
They won the last First Division Championship before the Premier League was introduced.
Yeah.
They beat United by 1 point, as I
must have won
recall.
a cup or something,
and Gordon Strachan was in that team, right?
Yeah.
And that is the only thing they've won since the Don Revie era.
No. All right.
And Sheffield Wednesday... No, actually, Sheffield Wednesday won the League Cup because I went to Wembley and watched them. I think they beat Aston Villa. But they definitely won it because I went with our old friend Mr. Paul Potts, who was a Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Your former mentor.
Former mentor.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll get back to that later because we've got lots more coming up, including Porkyvision. This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
Quite a few tweets coming in on the subject of quokkas, right? And we should say that very shortly we will be going live on Periscope, which will also go out on Twitter, and with Porkyvision will be able to be seen in all its glory. Richard says this, yes, quokkas only live on Rottnest Island, which is across from Fremantle, a fun place near Perth, so not far from where you were. In that on that trip you made.
I was in Perth and Fremantle, that's right. Yeah,
so I'm surprised nobody ever mentioned a quokka to you.
No, mentioned a quokka.
And how about this from El Moleto, who says Rottnest Island is a few miles off Perth, Western Australia. Dutch sailors named it after rat's nest due to quokkas looking like big rats.
Ah, well, there you go, you see. I told you.
And Jay says, kangaroos, etc. Porky, they only live in Australia because of its unique evaluation isolation. It was a land cut off from anywhere.
Is that right?
Which I suppose is more than any other place, isn't it? Because if you think about North America, it's joined to Canada. It's also joined to Central America. You know, it's not a landmass all on its own.
No, I see what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, very interesting indeed.
Britain is a landmass all on its own, isn't it?
What?
Or at least the part that includes England, Scotland and Wales is a landmass all on its own.
Yes.
So why wouldn't we have kangaroos?
I don't know the answer to that one. I suppose, really, that the temperature's not right here for kangaroos. Kangaroos like hot weather.
Yeah, maybe.
And they'd get killed off in our winter, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, they're
Northern Hemisphere.
They wouldn't like all the roads either.
They wouldn't like all the roads, that's right. You know our very good mate, John Blake?
Yes, the publisher.
Yes.
Former columnist in a column called Ad Lib.
Didn't he start the Bizarre column in the London Evening News? And then
he started the Ad Lib column.
Was it Ad Lib,
in the Evening News, which used to be designed by my father.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good.
It was Ad Lib and it had a little arrow.
That's right, yes, I do.
That was my old man's.
Yes, that's right, I remember that, yeah. And then, amazingly, he sort of got promoted to become the editor of the Sunday People.
He did.
But he didn't like it because he wasn't an editor material.
No, but he was very showbiz sort of oriented.
Very
showbiz.
He
knew a lot of showbiz people, which was why he got the job.
That's right, and he got a lot of splashes. And he then went on to form Blake Publishing. And one of the successes, they published Katie Price's first book.
Yes.
Made her a millionaire.
Right.
Because they sold so many books. It was, John has always had a great eye for a story.
Indeed.
And then he went even better when he published Rooney Tunes, which was...
That was published by John Blake, was it?
Published by John Blake, one of the outstanding...
How did that do vis-a-vis Katie Price's tome?
Well, it didn't make the author a millionaire just because of that book.
Right.
The author, of course, was me.
Oh, yes, and you were already a millionaire before you wrote
it. No, but it was an outstanding sporting profile book. It's still available.
Yeah, it's still available on Amazon it's gone up to 130 quid now.
137
quid.
That
can't be right, can it?
Well,
what sort of idiot would pay 130 quid for that?
There aren't many copies of it left, right? And now
have you not got a load of them in your house?
I've got half a dozen. That's all I've got. Yeah, but it might have to go into reprint because there's been a sudden surge in demand.
By the way, you do remember that you promised to sign one for the guy who wrote into Ask Porky.
Indeed.
Or to Postman Pork, rather. So don't forget to do that.
Yes.
Also, there's a guy called Sam. Who sent in a T-shirt and a book and a DVD to be signed, right? And he's had the book and the DVD back, but he still hasn't had the T-shirt.
T-shirt's on its way.
How do you mean on its way?
I know about that. It was dispatched when I was with our dispatchers. Remember I went to see our dispatchers on Wednesday?
Yeah, I thought you did this ages ago.
Or Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's right. I did. I took them some roses. I checked up on it and said, where's it? They said, we're awfully sorry. Been a bit of a delay. Been a rush on T-shirts. It's gone out.
Right, okay.
So I can tell you that now.
Right,
okay?
Okay.
And as for the...
So you took them a load of flowers, did you?
Yes, I did, yes. I took them...
For girls? Did you? I mean, I don't know who these people are.
Well,
these are people that you've got hidden away in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
No, there are distributors. They're a distribution office.
They're all women.
They're all women,
Yeah.
and they look after the dispatch
How many of them are there?
DVDs. About half a dozen.
Really?
Yes, headed up by Helen.
Uh-huh. Why have you never introduced me to them?
Well, how often do you get down to Stockbroker Belt?
Well,
Sorry.
it's not that far away, is it?
Well, I mean, they don't want to meet you.
Why not?
What do they want to meet you for?
Well, because I'm the more charming part of the duo.
Why
clearly.
Why would they want to meet the monkey when they've already met the organ grinder? Huh?
That's the funniest thing you said all night.
Yeah.
You don't want them to meet me, do you? Because you know that I will show you up to be the charlatan that you are.
Anyway, listen, the reason I'm talking about our mate John Blake, right?
Yes.
John then went on to form Blake Publishing. As I say, he published
Still
my
runs
book.
it, right?
Still runs it, still very successful.
Yes.
What's happened is that 3 years ago, he was given a 75,000-word memoir written by Sir Mick Jagger.
Oh, yeah. Written by Jagger?
Yeah, written by Jagger. Okay. So it's actually Jagger's life story from the early 1980s. Now, let me see. John Blake, the publisher, I'm reading this from a text, okay?
Yes.
Said that Jagger 73 had initially been keen for it to be published as an autobiography and would write a foreword explaining that he'd written it long ago and far away. But then things changed. Unfortunately, big events happened in Sir Mick's life. For instance, the death of his girlfriend, Lorraine Scott, in March 2014. And a Rolling Stones tour was organised. A film was made about the making of landmark LP Exile on Main Street.
Exile on Main Street.
On Main Street. And, of course...
The Group and Sex song is my favourite.
Yeah, Group and Sex, Banda Nova. Yeah, and of course...
You can't always get what you want.
That's right. And can't always get... Yes. Oh, ho, ho, just give me the tumbling dice. And, yeah. Women think I'm tasty, but they always try to waste me. And then, of course, remember, there was that Rolling Stones exhibition at the Saatchi Gallery.
Yes.
So what happened was, John goes back apparently to Mick Jagger,
right.
who I'll stop calling Sir Mick Jagger,
yes.
Mick Jagger, to say, look, can we get on with the book? To which Mick Jagger says, what book?
So he didn't remember writing
He couldn't remember writing 75,000 words about his life.
When is he meant to have written it?
In the early 80s.
That period of well, that was around about the time...
about 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was 75, I think, was when they brought Ronnie Wood in.
Yes, that's right.
To do Black and Blue.
That's right,
So that would have been around about the time of... the Tattoo You album, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's
Start
right,
Me Up, around that time.
That's right, yeah.
Because I was looking, funnily enough, we were talking the other night about, the girl next door, Adele.
Yes.
And how lovely she is, and, she likes like everybody else, and
yes.
she has her Chinese, and she does the dishes
yeah,
and all
that's
that.
right. I was just doing the dishes
Do you know
and
how much she
washing them
makes?
up,
Do you know how much she makes a night? £500,000.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I read that she made 67 million quid in the last sort of financial year with her recordings and album sales and concerts and all that kind of
Which
stuff.
Which only puts her, funnily enough, in at number 9 on the top 10 highest earning tours.
I mean, it's amazing.
And 3 of them are the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Really?
One is from, let's see, the 5th highest is a Bigger Bang tour, 2005 to 7.
Yes.
Where they made about 780,000 quid a night.
Yes.
In number 8 is the Licks tour, 2002-3, 543,000 a night.
Yes.
And then the Voodoo Lounge tour, 94-95, 518,000 a night. That was number 10. Number 1, would you believe, still is Madonna.
Madonna.
3.8 million a night.
A night?
Yes.
I mean, sorry.
Per show.
Was that on one night or was that a tour, a succession of nights?
That was her Sticky and Sweet tour, 2008-9.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen's next on 2012-13 tour, 2.2 million a night.
Yeah.
This is a night.
Incredible.
Roger Waters, the Pink Floyd guy.
Yeah, sure,
The Wall Live, 1.6 million a night. U2, 2009 to 11, 1.3 million a night.
I'm surprised U2 weren't Ray up there because their marketing operation at their concerts and things is phenomenal, isn't it?
They've got 2 in here, and I'm surprised actually the last year's tour, which I saw, is not in there because I mean they must have been making a fortune. I think 400 quid for 2 tickets.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It says, just getting back to Mick Jagger for a moment, that part of the facts revealed in this sort of thing that was written in the 1980s is that Mick Jagger wanted to become a country squire.
Oh, yeah.
So he...
he kind of did, didn't he?
Well, I've been to his country place in France, down the Loire Valley.
Yeah, it's like a chateau, isn't it?
It is, a huge chateau and estate. But when we got there... The caretaker, I suppose, for want of a better word, he was sitting outside smoking a guitar.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, and
did he have a sort of a milkmaid on his knee?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, he and his wife were employed to look after the chateau,
right,
which was in grounds. There was a river running through the fields and all this kind of stuff, and we had to break through the gates, which were about half a mile from the chateau itself, because a lot of these places in France have huge long driveways, lots of land. And when we got up there, and he was sitting outside on a bench, our photographer, a guy called Reg Lancaster.
Oh, I remember Reg.
It's a bit of a Burke. But,
he was a bit old for all that,
he was, yeah. But he had actually been the stationed French photographer in the Paris Bureau for a number of years. Yeah. We'd closed the Paris Bureau.
He was rather sort of gentlemanly, wasn't he?
He was very gentlemanly.
He didn't take too kindly to the new ways of the paparazzi.
No, he didn't, no. And he didn't take very kindly to people like our Parry Walker calling him a dolt and an idiot because he didn't take his pictures in time, fast enough. But anyway, we got there and Reg started having a conversation with the caretaker, like, bonjour, monsieur. Yeah. Comment allez-vous?
Comment allez-vous?
Yeah.
Oui,
yeah. Nous désirons...
Monsieur Mick.
Nous désirons une audience avec Jagger. Jagger? Yeah, Jagger. Où est Jagger? Jagger, il n'est pas ici,
He's not here.
He's not here, yeah.
Right.
So,
very good.
So
then Street Fred.
So then Reg says,
the time, by the way.
Comment apparent mi Jagger ici? That means how long is it since Mick's been here?
Yes.
To which the caretaker says, and he talks to his wife, turns to his wife and says, Mabel, her name was Mabel, Mabel, Jagger, où ici, combien de, ans, which is years,
right.
And, sept ans, she says, sept ans, quatre. And
what was that, like 14 years?
No, 7 years, 4 months since
okay.
I'd seen him. That's right.
So you were in the wrong place. Really.
We were in the wrong place. We'd had it all the way down the Loire Valley to get a picture of Mick because he was on the run from, some woman or something.
No doubt.
No, it didn't work. Yeah. But anyway, it says that he bought when he wanted to become a squire. He bought a very famous house in Hampshire called Squires or something. Oh, no, sorry, historic Stargroves House, an estate in Hampshire.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, at the time, he was having an hallucinogenic LSD trip.
Right.
So it never happened, i.e. the country squire life.
Yeah.
But he has got the house.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Amazing stuff. Now, a couple of people have pointed out, by the way, that you got it the wrong way round on the firing squad.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has a live bullet apart from one who has a blank. That's the way they do it.
No, that can't be true.
Yes, that's
What's
the way
the point
done.
of one guy having a blank?
Well, so none of them know who's done the shooting.
No.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. 6 of them are responsible for the death of the victim.
Well, that makes more sense than one of them, doesn't it?
No, that's not right at all. That's not. You don't understand firing squads, mate.
No, I've never been in one.
No,
neither
exactly.
Of you.
Exactly.
Talk sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and it is that time of the week when we get to the best TV review you've ever heard in your entire life.
Yep.
Luckily, for those of you who haven't had enough of listening to it, you can now watch it live.
You can.
We are live on Periscope, on Twitter, and also, of course, on Facebook as well. So get to one of those particular outlets, platforms, whatever you want to call them, and watch Porky writhe his way through the TV review.
Writhe? What's that about?
Well, you move around a bit.
Writhe, I can, yeah.
Writhing. Is there much writhing in the report this week?
No, well, my potential great friend, Sheila Ferguson of the 3 Degrees.
Yes, people have been tweeting about her.
Yeah.
Was she on the One show?
No, she's on the Real Marigold Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
That's a show based on the film.
Yes,
Have you ever seen the film?
I saw the first film. I think did they not make a second one as well?
I don't know. Was the film any good?
I quite liked the first one.
Yeah, what was it about?
Well, it was about a load of old people who ended up in India.
I don't generally like things about old people, to be honest.
I don't know why, because there were some great actresses and actors in it.
Yeah.
And the guy from Slumdog Millionaire was the sort of hotel manager.
Right.
And he was very funny, and there was lots of good interchanges between people.
Okay.
It was like a bunch of sort of relatively middle-class people going out to India for a holiday.
Doesn't sound very interesting, that, to me.
It was.
Anyway, so Sheila's in it, right?
Is she?
Yes.
What part does she play?
Well, I don't know, because I haven't seen it yet. The point is that I decided to record it.
Okay.
And I will be watching it soon, so that's probably for the future. Probably
Did you see her on the One Show last night?
No.
Why not?
I don't watch the One Show.
Don't you?
Don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I think it's on a regular basis just plugs somebody's new show, new book.
Which is always on BBC, right?
Yeah, exactly. New DVD, new programme, new something, new car, whatever.
If they asked you on it, you'd go there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, yes, definitely. Yeah. Because it's a big audience, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, talking about the BBC...
Yes.
And I think I'm right in saying that, what was it called? The Shannon Matthews thing?
Yes.
It's called Moorside.
Moorside.
That was the name of the council housing estate they all lived on.
Was it Moorside or Moorhill?
Moorhead. No? No? Was it? No, it's Moorside, wasn't it?
Are you sure?
I think so,
I don't know.
Moorside.
Saw it.
It's definitely Moorside.
Is it?
Definitely Moorside.
Okay.
Now, I thought it was quite brilliant, actually. It was a BBC production, but I thought, what's the name of the great actress? Sheridan.
Hey?
What's her name? Sheridan?
Nicolette Sheridan?
No. Sheridan Morley?
Sheridan Morley.
Is it Sheridan?
That's a bloke, isn't it?
No. You know, she's great. She was in that...
She's not the one that was in the West End thing.
Yeah, and had to be called off because she got a little bit emotional. And what was her name?
Sheridan Smith, you mean?
Sheridan Smith.
Is she a great actress?
Scylla? She did Scylla.
Scylla was in it?
No, you idiot. She did the show and played Scylla Black, and she was brilliant. That's where she came from.
Oh, okay.
Now, she was in this, but what's interesting was she didn't play the villain of the piece, which was the woman Shannon Matthews, the mother
who played her then?
Oh, I don't know, somebody else.
Right, okay.
Who looked very much like the original woman. But the role that Sheridan Smith played was her best friend who stood by her all this time and actually became almost as vilified as a friend did, even though it was just out of loyalty she stuck by her.
But she didn't know that she was...
She didn't know that her friend had actually kidnapped her own daughter.
Deception, yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I thought it was great, not so much for, unravelling the plot of this, very bizarre kidnapping your own daughter and getting your friends to go and sort of supply information to claim the reward money and all that. Life at its very, very most basic form.
Ghastly.
And the lives that some people lead, you could tell it was just so basic and ghastly and horrible.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, high on sort of moral human values, as portrayed by Sheridan Smith, who, believe it or not, gave testimony in court for her friend, described her as weak and corrupt and all, but
I bet she was very grateful for that.
Yeah, well, no, but she had to balance it up by saying she was a victim of her upbringing and all this kind of and then went to keep seeing her for the 6 years that her friend spent in jail and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
So this show goes beyond the actual events itself. And
it's all about the events and the aftermath of when it's all found.
Does it go through the whole time she spends in jail then?
No, that's covered in just the last 5 minutes, you know what I mean? Then just put captions at the end saying, she was jailed for 8 years, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was dramatically, it was great, and Sheridan Smith was brilliant. No Rogerising as such, okay?
Well, it's not really...
I've had a complaint. I had a complaint that there might be too much Rogerising stuff in the Porky review.
Well, I think the point is that over the last couple of weeks, it has been very Roger-ring heavy, hasn't it?
So I thought I'd start with drama first, get the drama out of the way.
Yes, good.
Now, there have been Rogerising programmes, obviously. Taboo. Now, I don't know whether the taboo relates to what's been going on in Taboo, but very weirdly, and this all happened like 2 centuries ago.
Yes.
And in a very, very dark sort of plot involving the East India Company and actually nearly 3 centuries ago.
Is it not dragging on a bit now, Taboo?
Well, I think it's finished.
Is it?
Or if it hasn't, there's only one show left.
Well, I'm pretty sure I watched it on Saturday night.
Yeah, but I think that was the last one.
I don't think it was.
It wasn't the last one, okay?
No, I'm pretty sure
it
must
be another one then,
yeah.
Anyway, so what happens is, for some unknown reason, he's got a half-sister. Now, about 2 episodes ago, I couldn't work out why the half-sister sat across his knee in a very sort of provocative manner.
Exactly.
And thought, what's going on here?
Well, I've always wondered about that too.
Well, now it's gone further.
Certainly has.
They've indulged in Rogerisation, and I found it quite unseemly.
It's quite graphic as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you see, I can't knock it because it's written by Stephen Knight, who is the genius who created and wrote Porky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders.
Sorry. Yeah, Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
And who, in fact, gave me a Peaky Blinders hat.
He did.
A Stetson. When I went to...
A Stetson?
Yeah, a Stetson.
Stetson?
They're made by Stetson.
Are they?
The Peaky Blinder hats are made by the famous...
It's only that I know that you'll tell me that Stetson is the make, but generally speaking, when you say Stetson, you think of a cowboy hat, don't you?
Oh, a Stetson is normally a 10-gallon hat, which was worn by cowboys in Texas.
Yeah.
But this is a genuinely made by Stetson.
But if you said, I've got a Stetson, you wouldn't think it was a flat cap.
No, you wouldn't normally. No, but it suits me very well, actually. Anybody who wants to see me in my Stetson flat cap just has to look at our new website, and you'll see there's plenty of pictures on there with me in my flat cap.
Well, you were wearing it to carry your pizza boxes as well the other night.
I was indeed. That's absolutely right. So anyway, I don't really want to talk about that because it's a bit of a difficult subject. You know what I mean?
It is a bit tricky.
But it's the sort of thing that went on in those days.
Yeah. Well, it still goes on now.
Well, I hope not. But 3 centuries
you mean the
ago,
half-sister thing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically, there used to be a rule that you couldn't marry your cousin. Now, apparently, you can.
Anyway, we'll leave that one behind. Yeah. Because what I want to tell you about is... what else is there? I know. The Halcyon. Now, the Halcyon is getting a bit of Rogerisation in it. But the problem is, I'm finding it difficult now to look at the Halcyon because I find it so cliched.
Right.
For instance, there's a singer in the band in the Halcyon Hotel, and she's one of these singers with a heart of gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, a rough diamond who's singing in a posh hotel.
Oh, yeah.
But then her drunken mother turns up, and so she nearly loses her job because her mother crashes around in the ballroom.
And she's not of the right class.
Yeah, and we've seen all that before.
It's all a bit class-ridden, isn't it?
Yeah, you've seen all that before. And then the band leader, sells his trumpet for some unknown reason, goes and flogs his trumpet and gives the money to the singer's mother and tells her to push off.
Okay.
And
she then goes back to the gin palace, presumably, and gets even more bladdered.
Yeah, I mean, it's all very cliched. And other cliches in it, things like, the daughter of the hotel manager wants to do her bit for the war effort, so she joins the WRVS, the Women's Royal Voluntary Service, goes out in the middle of the night, gets bombed, and is, kneeling by dead bodies to protect them and all this kind of stuff. All a bit cliche.
It seems to have been going on for a long time, this show.
Seems to be going on for a long time.
You started reviewing Halcyon before Taboo, before...
I did.
What was the courtyard one?
Yew Tree... No.
Yew Tree Yard? No.
That's the address of one of my properties, actually, Yew Tree Court.
Is it?
No, Apple Tree Yard.
That's a bit unfortunate,
Apple Tree Court. Apple Tree Court, yeah. Right. That's all over now.
Apple Tree Yard?
Apple Tree Court.
You sure?
Apple Tree Yard.
I think it's Yard.
Apple Tree Yard, yes. Yeah. Now, the point is that in the Halcyon... What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at...
What?
I'm laughing at...
Yeah.
Well, I'm laughing at the camera, which is sitting there.
Right, okay.
Recording you.
Yes, that's all right. Now then, what happens is, in the Halcyon...
Yeah.
The Lady Hamilton...
Yes.
Who, of course, was the wife of the owner of the Halcyon, Lord Hamilton.
Not the one that was involved with Nelson.
Nelson?
Lady Hamilton.
No, you idiot. And Lord Hamilton, just to recap, died while he was having a Rogerisation, mass Rogerisation with his mistress.
Yeah.
In the main suite in the hotel.
Yes.
And his servant...
Sounds really boring, this Halcyon show.
His servant...
Does it ever do anything outside of the hotel?
No.
So it's all in the hotel?
Well, there's a bit of bombing going on outside the hotel. A few houses getting bombed, people getting killed and all that kind of stuff. Which used to happen during the Second World War, actually, with the Blitz and all that. And so what happens is that Lady Hamilton has now found herself a new boyfriend.
You've told us all this already.
No. It's developed. It's developed. Another terrible cliche. The son of Lady Hamilton is found with a new male lover, right?
Hang on.
Yeah.
The son of Lady Hamilton.
Yeah.
Who is, I thought, the new Lady Hamilton, or is this the old Lady Hamilton?
No, there's only one Lady Hamilton.
Okay. No, there's two, because there's the one that was with Nelson.
Oh, don't be an idiot. But there's two sons. So one has now become Lord Hamilton.
So the one who's become Lord Hamilton's new.
Yeah, but there's a younger son.
One, okay.
Now, he turns out to be gay.
Okay.
And again, very cliched, the cocktail waiter who he's having a fling with is seen emerging from his suite, and his mother, that's Lady Hamilton's new lover, spots this.
Right. God, it's a bit incestuous, isn't it?
No.
I don't mean incestuous in that way.
No, spots her And then, of course, he has to go down to the bar and say, please don't tell Mummy, that I've got a boyfriend, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he says, no.
Sounds awful, this show.
No, of course I wouldn't, old chap. And again, it's very cliched. How many times have you seen that plot,
Yeah. Rubbish.
About, you've got to hide your homosexuality, and because you don't have to anymore. Fortunately, we're much more enlightened society.
Yeah, we certainly are. Thank God for that.
But this, of course, was 1940.
Right.
So, but it is all a little bit cliche, to be honest. And
so give it a miss, is what you're saying.
Well, there isn't any what I would call fun Rogerisation in that one.
Right.
There's no fun Rogerisation in Taboo.
No.
Didn't get.
How would you describe fun Rogerisation then?
Well, where
Everybody
people
having a laugh and a shout.
Yeah, laugh and a shout.
Pinching each other's bottoms, that kind of thing.
No, people seem to be enjoying a bit of the old bouncy bed syndrome type stuff. You know what I mean? Which is what I think it should be all about. And also, you don't even want to think about the Rogerisation, the Shannon Matthews thing, because the Shannon Matthews herself has got like 7 kids by about 4 different husbands.
That's just horrendous.
And it's not something that we want to be familiar with, to be honest.
No,
you know what
quite
I mean?
right.
So I have to say, it wasn't a great week of enjoyable viewing at all.
No.
Coronation Street was actually a bit better for all that.
Maybe people can just watch your Porkyvision. We're running out of time now.
Young girls in Coronation Street running around don't worry about that, running around all over the place trying to find themselves a bit of, beefcake. That's all I can say.
Okay, all right. We'll get to that next week. It is a family show. This is the Two Mikes. We are the Two Mikes. That is Porkyvision.
It was.
Spoken like a true man.
Some people have no sense of irony, right?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
I should say that anybody who missed Porkyvision just then is able to go back and watch it live from the studio because it is on Periscope, it is on Twitter, and it will be soon on YouTube as well.
Is that right?
On the Two Mikes TV.
Really good.
So they could go watch it. But
sorry, is Periscope different to Twitter?
Well, it is, yeah. Periscope is a different app.
I see.
Which basically fires its stuff through Twitter.
And can anybody have Periscope?
Anybody can download the app.
Right, okay.
But I don't think you need to have the app in order to watch it on Twitter.
Right, okay.
Because it goes out on Twitter.
Well, I'm watching it now on something. I don't know what it is.
On Twitter, I think, right? And you don't have the app.
Hey?
You don't have the Periscope app.
No, I don't know.
You haven't downloaded.
Where'd you get the Periscope app from?
From the App Store.
App Store. Do you have to pay for that then?
No, it's free.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I might as well get that then.
Well, you could.
Yeah, work it out.
In case you want to ever do a live broadcast, you can use Periscope. But I'm told, funnily enough, and we're going to have a tech guy on here tomorrow night.
Yes.
I'm told that you can, very soon, you're going to be able to just do it straight onto Twitter.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because at the moment, Twitter has been a little bit limited in how long your broadcast can be.
I see.
So it's all very interesting. But how about this, right, from somebody who's tweeted in, and I'll tell you why he doesn't have any sense of irony.
Yes.
He says, what's happened to Porkyvision? I've never mind the drama. It's all about Rogerisation.
Yeah, that's
and guess what the guy's name is?
No.
Rogerizer.
Rogerizer.
I mean, his real name is Michael, but he's completely forgotten that that's what he's called himself. Matthew says this: if there are 6 in the firing squad, for example, only 1 has a live round, or 5 have a live round, and 1 has a blank. Well, hang on, you can't have both, can you?
No.
Either 5 have a blank and 1 has live.
It is 5 blank and 1 live.
Or 5 have live and 1 has a blank.
I can tell you it's 5. Listen, as I'm watching this rerunning on Twitter, I suppose, or Periscope, whichever one it is, all these messages keep coming up. You know, things like, is Captain Birdseye dead?
Well, these are messages that get put up while the show, while the broadcast is on. If you like.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They just keep sort of.
Now, if we were able
interesting,
to,
all that,
is, if we were able to watch it as sort of in real time, as it were, but we can't because we're too busy concentrating on talking to each other.
Yes.
We'd probably be able to read some of those out.
Well, a lot of people see. There's one here. It's just come up. Tracy Bradley. That's all it says. A picture of her, a young lady, and 3 hearts, showing, of course, that. Demonstrating her affection for us, me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
He likes to eat his chips with a fork, says Hobbsy.
Yeah.
And Mardy sends an LOL. What's that? Lots of laughs?
Lots of love.
Oh, lots of love, okay. MG, why are you still wearing NHS glasses, says John Jalfrezi.
John Jalfrezi doesn't wear glasses, does he?
I don't know.
These are not NHS glasses, by the way.
So these,
they're Ray-Bans, plunk.
Yeah. These all these messages keep coming up. Really, Porky, and that's all it says. But it's from somebody called Really. Why do all these hearts? Why are all these hearts sort of filtering up?
There are people that like it. So if somebody hits, when you're on Facebook or on Twitter, and you hit like.
Is that right?
If somebody's liking it, because it's a movable feast in
this
video.
I see. Yeah.
The hearts will float. It's supposed to make you feel, all warm.
Some are green and some are purple. What's the difference?
That I don't know.
No, you don't know? Okay, yeah.
Well, purple heart, of course, is what you get for extreme valour.
Hobbsy says Porkmeister, the legend. Gaz Jones says the first Mrs. Parry.
Yeah.
Anthony says she didn't do very much on the Marigold Hotel programme, to be fair.
That's true. Well, you did say you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, Porky does his review without watching his show. He's going to review something he hasn't seen.
Yeah.
That's a wild allegation, of course. Well, that's all very interesting.
I'm glad you're getting into it.
Getting into it in a big way.
We'll drag you into the 21st century yet.
Indeed.
Here's one from Ian who says, Europe, the United Kingdom and the Americas were all the same landmass until a few million years ago.
No, that's not true.
Kangaroos were isolated in Australia.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ian, for that.
This side of the Atlantic
it's true.
Has never been joined with the other side of the Atlantic, I'm afraid.
Well, I think was there not some kind of Atlantic bridge scenario?
No, there was no Atlantic bridge.
Sure?
What I'm certain of is, and we're all certain of, is that Russia and America used to be joined through Alaska.
Well, then surely Russia's part of
Straits.
the European continental landmass.
Yeah.
And so it was joined to the North American landmass, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
so
but
that's true then.
Yeah, no, but we were never connected we were never connected east to west to America.
No, because at that time Britain was part of Europe.
Probably part of the continental drift shelf.
Because if you look, for example, at the way South Africa and Africa is shaped, and you look at South America, they would fit perfectly together.
Yeah, they would, I suppose. I mean, isn't it amazing to think that at one time, Stone Age man could have walked from Essex to Amsterdam,
where of course he originated.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Essex to Amsterdam, without having to walk through water, and now the North Sea's there. I mean, that is an amazing thought, isn't it?
Yes, well, it is. And I mean, the way that
Absolutely. I wonder where all the water came from to make up the North Sea.
Well, the water has always been part of Earth. It was just that the volcanic activity, the seismic activity, was what created some of the mountains. What do you mean, could be?
Yeah, well, what
else do you think happened?
Now, listen, just to get serious for a minute or two.
Yeah, I've got more tweets here, by the way.
Oh, yeah, go on, read some out, please.
Ashley favours the guillotine for execution. He says that can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Would you take the noble axe option? And then he says this is one dark conversation. I mean, if you were being...
well, do you know what what used to worry me when I see these historical films?
Yeah.
How calm people are when they're about to get their head chopped off.
Well, they're only in the movies, aren't they?
Yeah, I know, but nevertheless, it's supposed to be a historically accurate replication.
Portrayal, yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, the more you gave the Axeman, the better job he did chopping your head off. If you didn't give him anything...
What, you mean you had to give him a tip?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, you had to tip the guy that's about to execute you.
Of course you did. Do you know why?
That's ridiculous.
Do you know why? If you didn't, he'd sometimes turn the axe round and hit you for the first 3 times with the blunt side of the axe. Yeah, just to break your neck.
Again, to go back to Gladiator, when he is the order is given that he has to be killed.
Yes.
And so he's taken out into the forest.
Yeah.
And they have 2 ways of doing it. They have a sword,
yeah.
Which you can either use sort of sideways,
yeah.
and in a sort of scything action.
But he sort of cut him in half type.
Well, to cut your head off, but that can sometimes go wrong.
Yes.
So the guy says, "Can I please have a soldier's death?"
Yes.
Which is where they put the tip of the sword right at the top of your spine and basically shove it down.
Oh God, that sounds
kills
painful.
you. Well, but it kills you instantly.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah, but pretty sure.
I mean, remember all your nerves run down your spine. That'd be pretty blinking. That'd be like putting a drill into a live tooth in your mouth.
Yeah, but it makes you feel. It paralyses everything. I believe. I think that's the point. I mean, you're the expert in medieval torture.
Well, I'm not really. I don't fancy that one. So what happened? Did he survive?
Well, what happened was the guy tried to take his sword out of its scabbard, and it was so cold that it stuck.
Right.
And he somehow managed to, escape, basically.
I see, yeah.
So he didn't get killed.
He didn't get killed, yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So that's good.
He does get killed later.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, I think we're going to read out some tweets.
I've done that.
What? Which ones?
Well, I just read a load of them about the killing thing.
Oh, I see. Fine. I think I'm going to read some about
how about this?
About
Leon,
our live broadcast.
No, I've worked out about what that guy Leon was on about last night.
Right.
He says, "MG, you're doing it again. You keep looking to your left. It's creepy. What are you looking at? Is it a monitor or a camera?" Yeah. Well, the camera is there, and also the producer's window is there.
Yes.
So whenever I look towards that direction, it's because I'm either communicating with the producer or the camera.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm looking at.
I see, okay.
Anthony says, "Why did you stop the Periscope action? It was good."
Yes. We didn't stop it, did we?
Well, we did. It's not on now.
Oh, no, we should start. Yeah, we had
some people say we should periscope the whole show.
Yes.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure about that.
Because also you'd have to stop giving away all those things you tell me, during the breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Some very valuable information passes between us at those times.
Old Guardi.
Guardi. Who are you?
Guardi. Guardi. Guardi says, great show, lads. We'll be listening via podcast for the rest of the week.
Excellent.
Saturday show as well, thank you. And Colin...
Saturday show's early this week because of the FA Cup, by the way.
It's 10 till 12, yeah.
It is, yeah.
And Colin says, LOL, love you both.
Yeah.
So it's rather nice sentiment. Del Strain says, it's a running theme.
Del's a top man.
Like Mike P's Logic. Should be on a T-shirt. Been there since the start. One for the purists.
This is one of the other tweeters that he's responding to who said, why do I keep saying, have you seen the time?
Right.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's meant to be annoying. That's the point.
That's right. And then Richard sends in one with a picture of a squirrel hopping across the Atlantic with a Stars and Stripes flag. How did squirrels get to America? Porky wins again.
Yeah.
And an update on Mike Parry's favourite pizzas. Domino's worker caught in Asda buying pizzas. Well, you told us about that, didn't you, the other night? But it wasn't pizzas, it was potato wedges.
It was potato wedges, exactly right. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what about the Europa League coming up tonight? Manchester United in action, Spurs in action as well, both live on TalkSport, I believe.
Very cruel one here. Cruel one here.
Did you just completely ignore what I said?
Hang on, I'll just get this out of the way. We'd like to see a picture of Porky with his 10-gallon hat on his 2-pint head. That's rather harsh.
That is very harsh.
Right, sorry, what's the question?
I was asking you about the Europa League, which is going on tonight.
I don't really care too much about the Europa League. I don't think most people do.
Most people do, especially if they're Spurs fans. Spurs are playing Ghent, aren't they?
I think Spurs fans are pretty disappointed that they're not still in the Champions League, aren't they? And they regard the Europa League, as many other football fans would do, as second best.
Well, yeah, except, and I know that we have these conversations all the time. What about the the winning of it and then getting into the Champions League? I think that's worth doing.
Well, that's a long shot. Only one team can win it, and about 64 teams enter it. So,
well, the same goes for the Champions League. I mean, Tottenham wouldn't win the Champions League.
Not really. The Champions League, when you get to the start of the season, is only 32 teams. That's why it's reduced to 16.
After last night,
but 64 teams start the Europa League.
After last night and the night before's action, would you like to predict who's going to win the Champions League?
No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, the Champions League.
Yes.
Oh, it's got to be Real Madrid, doesn't it?
You think?
I would think so.
Really?
Yeah, I would think they'd be the first to retain it. No club has ever retained the Champions League trophy.
Bayern Munich did absolutely slaughter Arsenal.
Yeah, they did, I agree.
5-1.
But, that was more Arsenal's inadequacy than Bayern Munich's superiority, wasn't it?
All right. I'm going to tip a dark horse, just for the fun of it. I'm going to tip Sevilla.
Sevilla?
Yeah.
That's not a bad shot.
That's my dark horse tip for the Champions League.
Because they've had a lot of success in the European competition.
That's right. Exactly right. Anyway, we'll be back with the Porky quiz on Cuba.
That's right.
Tomorrow.
In Cuba.
This is TalkSport.
A film was made about the making of landmark LP Exile on Main Street.
Exile on Main Street.
On Main Street. And of course,
the Group and Sex song is my favourite.
Yeah, Group and Sex, Banda Nova. Yeah, and of course,
you can't always get what you want.
That's right, and can't always get. Yes. Oh, ho, ho! Just give me the tumbling dice. And women think I'm tasty, but that always.